decision soon. Forecast of mostly sunny skies today, high of 40 degrees, low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
And welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We have a huge show lined up for you today. We certainly appreciate everybody sticking around, listening to the 4 hours of the Devil's Advocates now every Monday through Friday. You are welcome. We appreciate it. You can always join us anytime at 844-967-2789.
Do you mind if I join you, Dominic?
Crudy, jumping in, man. I was going to get to you, man. Special guest early today, Mike Crute, man. What's going on?
Not much.
Not much.
Sort of a wasted morning, and I thought, well, let's waste the afternoon as well.
May as well. Hey, we'll waste it together. We'll waste it with all our friends. Man, always a pleasure to be with you, Crudy. But unfortunately, kind of what I've been doing here and thinking about lately is starting the show off with some depressing news, and hopefully someday it will be positive news. But as of today, the COVID numbers here in the state of Wisconsin, as usual, released around 2 o'clock Central Time, they have come out, and they are, as expected, not good. According to the DHS of Wisconsin, we had 7,090 positive cases out of 22,743 tests done. That is a positive infection rate of 31%. So, a little bit lower than the 36%-ish we've been doing.
Am I to be encouraged by that percentage, Don?
It's unfortunate, no doubt, but it's better than it was. But here's a really bad one. The death here in the state of Wisconsin, we had another 92 confirmed dead here in the state of Wisconsin, and another 318 people have been hospitalized in the Dairy State because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Wow. That number is up nearly 50%.
The 92 dead?
Yeah, the 92 dead. That has got to be a record-setting number in the state of Wisconsin. Dominic, you pointed out, nationwide, they're talking about up to 1,000 dead per day.
And in that regard, I yesterday, and I'm going to do this again, keep consistent sourcing here. The New York Times has their numbers updated as well. Another 796 new coronavirus deaths nationwide, and 166,226 new cases. So, again, numbers are numbers. Got to consider the sources. But if these were to be comparable within the same time frame, in the last 24 hours or so, 92 dead in the state of Wisconsin out of a total of just under 800 nationwide. That means the total deaths in Wisconsin account for about 11.5% of the national deaths. And we are not 11.5% of the population of this country. So we are way over statistically in dead in this state compared to the rest of the country.
Dominic, Journal Sentinel editorial board. Wisconsin is being swamped by a coronavirus pandemic. Republican leaders do nothing. I'm going to read from this. We need to pull ourselves together, Wisconsin. The coronavirus pandemic is causing undue excess sickness and harm to our families and neighbors. Despite lies to the contrary, it doesn't discriminate between Republicans and Democrats, cities and rural areas. While it poses the greatest threat to older people, you can't be sure who it may take next, sometimes killing or causing permanent injury to a young, fit person with no known underlying conditions. The concept of encouraging herd immunity is a fool's game, especially with the promise of an effective vaccine just months away. Yet as giant Lambeau Field under the management of responsible adults lies empty on game days, our overworked doctors and nurses drive to work past taverns with packed parking lots, people walking in and out without masks. This reckless ignorance has led to exponential spikes in COVID-19 cases, filling our hospitals and intensive care units to the breaking point. Meanwhile, others in need of intensive care due to strokes, heart attacks, car accidents, and other illnesses will see their care suffer. Since when is it right to let the least informed, least responsible among us lead the way? It is time to demand better, to demand that our leaders unify in support of our contagious disease experts and speak with one voice to defend all of us. What will it take for Republicans who run the Wisconsin legislature to climb down from a warped ideology? Bear with me. A warped ideology.
Yes.
Pardon me. That values liberty to ignore common sense health rules over saving human lives. For a soft-spoken governor with underlying health conditions to do everything in his power to rally support behind our healthcare troops, to encourage and collect needed blood donations, to discourage unsafe behavior with loud and persistent calls for public safety. We might have thought 1,000 new cases of coronavirus a day would be enough. It wasn't, nor were 5,000 new cases a day or even 7,000. As cases and deaths rose, Republican lawmakers wasted the summer and early fall doing nothing to combat the virus and instead made a political issue out of fighting a governor who was trying to keep people safe. And then that governor and those legislative leaders didn't speak for 6 months, even by the very low standards for governance that we've come to expect in recent years. This is outrageous behavior, Dominic.
Crudy, an editorial from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I'll pick it up here. There were signs of a thaw in the frosty relationship between the Republican leadership and Democratic Governor Tony Evers last week. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos called Evers after the governor's primetime address to the state. Vos said it might be time to hit the reset button. But if Vos has a plan, he hasn't disclosed it. And he remains opposed to even the simplest of requirements, mandating masks in public places. Republicans may believe they are staking their position on principle that Evers shouldn't have czar-like powers, as Vos says, but Evers isn't asking for that, and the administrative branch of state government has had public health emergency powers since the 1800s. Public closures were called for during the deadly flu pandemic of 1918 and 1919, and during the polio outbreaks of the mid-20th centuries. We preserved our liberty and our democracy while also protecting public health. Evers simply wants to keep people safe, including the most vulnerable among us. The Republicans claim they wanted to be part of the process. That was their argument last spring. All well and good. So why haven't they done anything since they filed suit with a friendly, equally partisan state Supreme Court and successfully overturned the Evers administrative first safer at home order shortly before it was due to expire? ? Republican inaction can best be explained by fealty to Donald Trump and his most vocal and adamant supporters. The Republican president falsely claimed the pandemic was going away by Easter, then that it was a problem for the Democratic cities. He lied repeatedly about the coronavirus and the federal government's failed response to the crisis. Trump refused to wear a mask because wearing a mask would have reminded voters that the pandemic was killing thousands of people on his watch during an election year. His legions in Wisconsin and elsewhere enthusiastically followed his negligent lead, even as deaths soared far higher in the United States than in other nations, including many with far less advanced healthcare systems. Now that Trump has lost the election, and let's be clear, he has lost in a fair and well-regulated vote, their servitude to him should be finished. They should feel free to do the right thing. But they face a hard reality. Without legally imposed limits on what people can do, many simply won't take reasonable precautions. Many buy whatever Trump is selling, no matter how much evidence there is to the contrary. And without a unified message from the state's top leaders of all parties, based on the best evidence of public health experts, the message people hear will be muddled, the enforcement in many places non-existent. Up to now, Republicans have washed their hands of the pandemic, blamed it on China, and hoped it would go away. They haven't even come together in an attempt to provide more relief to the businesses and employees who have lost their jobs due to the pandemic, or to provide relief so that businesses, schools, and other public places can cover the cost of having workers stay home when exposed, practice safe distancing, and perform continual disinfecting of open workplaces. Senate Majority Leader and soon-to-be Congressman Scott Fitzgerald said recently his caucus might consider legislation if Congress passes a new relief bill, but that the only acute problem in Wisconsin was an outbreak in the state's prisons. What? Our state's average daily death number has jumped 7.5 times in the last 2 months. Our daily average of new cases has spread exponentially. No county in the state has been spared, and now our health leaders, the heroes doing everything they can as our hospitals and ICU units fill up with COVID-19 patients, are worried patient loads will soon reach a crisis where doctors and nurses can no longer save all the lives that need saving. Crudy, for months, Evers has urged lawmakers to do more, such as making more state funding available for testing and contact tracing when the federal dollars run out.
Dominic, other states are doing more. Michigan's governor put together restrictions in place on Sunday, and even Republican governors in places such as Iowa and North Dakota are changing their minds and ordering statewide action. But instead of acting, Wisconsin Republicans have sued the governor. They sued to overturn Evers' safer at home order and succeeded before a state Supreme Court packed with Republicans. They filed a legal brief to block the governor's mask mandate, and more people died. Evers argues his hands are tied because of last spring's Supreme Court decision. That same court is about to decide how much power the governor has to manage the pandemic, but the governor must keep trying to protect Wisconsin residents, even if his actions are overturned by foolish legislature or even a more foolish high court. Evers also should go Evers should go before the public more often to make his case. Call us, Tony. He must rise to the occasion. He must lead. In his speech last week, the governor showed signs that he understands. He put it to the public straight. It's not safe to go out. It's not safe to have others over. It's just not safe. And it might not be safe for a while yet. The conclusion of this: how many more have to get sick and die before lawmakers work with the governor and do their jobs, whether they negotiate from his plan or offer one of their own? We encourage the citizens of Wisconsin to demand more from their elected representatives.
Yes.
Come back with us. Crudy sitting in early on the Dom Hour of the Devil's Advocates. Couldn't stay away, man. The radio, it keeps pulling me back.
Sure wasn't me, baby.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. Cody and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years, and we've never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now and advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Get your message out and let the greatest radio audience know how to support your business. Call Luke at 608-819-TALK. That's 608-819-8255. Or go to DARNWI.com.
5nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 5nines.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
There are lots of people that haven't made up their mind on this race, and you think, how could that be? No, there are. There are a lot of people that could still make a decision all the way on election day, Dom.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Yosemites.
Because freedom.
Supplying your political fix on the back roads from Sauk City to Beaver Dam on WTTN 1580 AM Devil Radio.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the dark.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, as always, at 844-967-2789. Crudy, we read from an editorial, from the editorial board at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, their grievances regarding the lack of action in the state of Wisconsin. There's a couple of paragraphs, and then we jump to the conclusion, but I want to make sure I get this out there. This is their board. This is what they are saying. Here's what they favor. We favor actions that our public health leaders have requested: a mask mandate, capacity limits for bars and restaurants, financial help for businesses, and more dollars for testing and contact tracing. In areas of the state where the virus is spreading unchecked, bars and restaurants and perhaps other businesses and institutions should close until the outbreak can be brought under control. It is not too much to ask Wisconsin residents to wear masks, to socially distance, and to stay home. It is not too much to ask businesses to do their part. It is not too much to require these things for a time, where and when necessary. The question is, do Republicans in Wisconsin know how to be sensible and when to bend for the good of the people? Republicans in Wisconsin used to understand this. Former Governor Tommy Thompson surely did. He once was elected by a majority of voters in all but one county. He even carried both Milwaukee and Dane counties, a far cry from today's hyperpartisan obstructionists. We're very close to a tipping point, Ryan Westergaard, State Department of Health Services Chief Medical Officer, said last week. This could get much worse quickly, and that tipping point is when we'll stop being able to save everyone who gets severely ill. And again, to repeat the conclusion, important: how many more have to get sick and die before lawmakers work with the governor and do their jobs, whether they negotiate from his plan or offer one of their own? We encourage citizens of Wisconsin to demand more from their elected representatives. Again, the electoral board at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And if you're not going to have a plan, Curdy, how about just a number? All right. Is 92 dead a day? Is that a good number? If not, how about 100, 200, 500, 1,000 dead a day? What is the number? What is the tripping point, the trigger mechanism that would get you going? It's not 7,000 infections a day. Is it 10? Is it 15? Can you just give me a number so we know when to expect the next plan for the plan?
Dominic, Robin Voss called a press conference, probably going on right now as we speak. One must assume he's going to have to put forth some sort of plan.
Why would you assume that?
Tony Evers also dropped a few legislative proposals today. Of course, he doesn't have the power to enact them now without some sort of a tango partner. But real quick, Dom, you talk about the number. The average daily death toll over the last 7 days, talking about Wisconsin, was 49. 2 months ago, just before the surge in deaths was beginning in Wisconsin, it was 5. Today, it's 92. Now, that's obviously a small sample, but 92, that is a tragic day in Wisconsin history. And Dom, I pointed out to you, drove back on the Beltline today, had a little gallivanting around, not getting anything done today.
Wasted your morning. Yeah.
Wasted my morning, but at least I had, fine Devil Radio 92.7 on the radio. But Dom, the highway death sign, state of Wisconsin, I asked you to guess the number. And you said 500, 600. To be precise, currently, according to the State Department of Transportation, 525 people have died on the state's highways this year.
Yeah.
And that is a tragic number. But we've had 5 times that many deaths from COVID-19. And it's been around less than a year. And quite frankly, at this current trajectory, 92 a day. Even at a rolling average of 49 a day, that's what? 525 deaths on the highway, an annualized death count on the highway. We're going to lose that many people in the next week at this trajectory from COVID-19 in one state.
And don't we hear, and didn't we hear people like Senator Ron Johnson talk, compare this to, well, we have people die on the highway. We don't shut that down. I mean, this is what they believe is a legitimate rebuttal to the current pandemic. And of course, I think that's malarkey. That's malarkey. You can't catch a car accident.
Well, and unfortunately, when Republicans choose to drive around the countryside not wearing a seatbelt, that's just going to cost them their lives. Their idiotic, reckless driving might cost another their lives. But effectively, by deciding not to wear masks in public spaces, they're cutting your seatbelt away. They're taking away, they're infringing upon my freedom to not catch freaking COVID. 844-967-2789. Going to the phones. Dave from Madison. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Dave.
Hello. How you guys? Geez, man. I don't know why the word rant is supposed to be negative. I do a lot of it myself, and I appreciate your ranting at the start of the show. Very well deserved for the listener. But I want to change subject just a little bit. And one thing that I was disappointed, I want you guys to weigh in, or a knowledgeable listener. I swear I heard that Mr. Biden was a professor of constitutional law. And if this is true, I'd like to hear that stated. And also, my comment is that isn't that the kind of guy, along with Obama, who was a professor of law at Harvard? Aren't these the kind of people we want to be running our country instead of some stupid actor?
Well, come on, at least Reagan could act.
Come on. I mean, a reality show actor is still an actor. Thank you for the call, Dave. I don't believe that Biden's a constitutional professor.
21 years. Mostly true, according to Snopes. Did Biden teach constitutional law for 21 years? Mostly true. Take that. You underestimate Uncle Joe.
Wow.
You know what? Donald Trump's got to put up or shut up tomorrow. $7.9 million if he wants a Wisconsin recount. We'll talk about that. We'll talk with you on the phones. 844-967-2789.
When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough.
With better reception than new tinfoil hats, why listen to any other station? 92.7 FM and WGTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for Devil Radio.
America has chosen Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to lead our country. Now it's time to get to work. Time to expand healthcare and tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Time to restore our democracy and unify our nation. It's time to put this administration to work for us. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
I'm Alan Robinson, host of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I am from this city, and I am in these streets, speaking truth to power Monday through Friday about your issues. Join me from 6 to 7 p.m. on
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Maryland is one of the many states dealing with a big increase in coronavirus cases and deaths.
This deadly virus has now taken the lives of 4,186 Marylanders.
Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland is making changes.
Takeout and delivery services are encouraged to continue, but in-person dine-in operations at bars and restaurants and entertainment venues will not be permitted between the hours of 10 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock a.m.
In Iowa, the state has reached 2,000 deaths. Governor Kim Reynolds has enacted a partial statewide mask mandate.
I know this isn't where we wanted to be nearly 9 months into the pandemic. I know that we can overcome it, but now is the time to come together for the greater good, to do everything we can for each other, and not really because you're told to do it, because it's the right thing to do.
The NFL's New York Giants and Atlanta Falcons each put a player on the league's COVID-19 list. I'm Ed Donahue.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fee. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. The Republican Majority Leader of the State Assembly is pushing back against conspiracy theories and misinformation about the presidential election in Wisconsin, but says he favors a legislative investigation into the 2020 vote. Representative Jim Steineke appeared on WPR earlier this week where he downplayed claims of widespread voter fraud and said a lawsuit brought on behalf of Republican President Donald Trump in Wisconsin had no merit. But he also said the Assembly's election committee should take a look at things. The Milwaukee Health Department received a threat after health inspectors attempted to enforce the city's order aimed at combating the spread of COVID-19 during a Saturday rally outside Serb Hall held by supporters of President Donald Trump. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Bonus Trudy in the 2 o'clock hour, man. It's going to be a long shift for me, but I wasn't getting anything done anyways. Real quick, just to revisit the topic, Joe Biden became an adjunct professor at Widener University, Delaware Law School, and taught occasional courses on constitutional law for approximately 20 years. However, Biden was not a full-time constitutional law professor, never earned tenure. Something about having a day job down at the U.S. Senate apparently got in the way there.
That'll get in the way.
Joe Biden, a professor of constitutional law, much like his former boss, Barack Obama.
Yeah, but Donald Trump's a super successful real estate attorney. You can go to Trump University, right? Oh, that's right. You can't go there anymore because that was a big scam and he had to pay $21 million to make that go away.
Well, I heard Trump went to business school, not law school, Dom. And if, you believe his niece's book, somebody took his SATs for him. It's the only way he got in.
844-967-2789. Crudy, real
Who
quick.
Who took your SATs for you, Dom?
I never took the SATs. I did the ACTs.
Well, you never went to law school either. You should have had someone take your PSATs for you.
The state of Iowa has a mandatory mask?
They do now.
Yeah, they do. And that's a Republican governor down there, right?
Yeah, she completely reversed herself. That's a full flippy floppy.
Oh, well, it's amazing what will happen when the bodies stop piling up. You wonder why the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin aren't doing the same. I mean, hell, the voters in Iowa influenced Governor Walker to deny the money and the funding for the casino, right?
Well, that was only about
Wisconsin.
300 people, Dom. I mean, the state of Wisconsin's lost like 10 times that many to the coronavirus pandemic. All in the time that Republicans have remained effectively inactive, have done squat about it. 844-967-2789. Going to the phones. L.A. Tom, how you doing on the left coast, my friend?
Hey guys, first off, we, the people, are the government, and we must never forget that. However, I would love to start seeing, since the corporations do seem to be running our government, especially there in the state of Wisconsin. I'd love for you guys to start outing some of these, whether they're Democratic or Republican people who are getting donations from different areas, because I think that would tell us why it is that we're not, or that why it is that in Wisconsin they're not moving with the mask mandate and all of these things, because their big corporate donors don't want it.
I'm not clear that that's the case, Tom. I'm not sure to whose benefits corporately it is to allow your customers to get sick and die from COVID-19. Now, I know the U-Lines, they are, a big Republican backer, billionaires from just south of the border, claim residency in Wisconsin. I know they've put plenty of money on the table. I know that Diane Hendricks has as well, but I'm not clear who's actually saying, I will give money to your campaign if you undermine public health. I mean, that's just basically been Trump's attitude, because it was, to his opinion, it was for his electoral benefit. The wearing of the mask was an acknowledgement of the deaths, an acknowledgement of the mishandling of the pandemic. The failure to wear masks, well, that's just trickled down from the top, but there was no transactional benefit, not even to corporations, as near as I can tell, Tom.
Do you think that it's just a big FU to Tony Evers, that he has no power then that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're playing politics with Wisconsinites' lives. 92 of them died because Republicans don't give a damn. They'd rather make Tony Evers look feckless than actually seek to solve any of these problems we have in the state, Tom. How do we know this? They haven't met in over 7 months.
Well, and Tom, also, if they were successful in utilizing and doing their job and utilizing the government for the benefit of the people, well, then that would acknowledge what? That government can work for the people. And as far as I recall, the Republicans don't think government can work, and they want to downsize and drown it in the bathtub. So it's against the general philosophy, in my humble opinion, for them to even engage in that, because it might work.
They must just want it to be a real big secret that we, the people, are the government. That must be the big thing. They must want it to be like it's one, like the Wizard of Oz. Like there's one person that's supposedly running this government, when it's we, the people, that are actually running this government, or are supposed to be running this government.
Well, it's Donald Trump running the government, Tom. It is one person.
Yeah, right now it is
dictatorial. It's patriarchal, and these Republicans all get in line behind the asinine president who can't face the reality that he lost this election. The only one that forgot about coronavirus on November 4th was Donald Trump. And all these Republicans, because it is Donald Trump's Republican Party, they all line up behind him. Rush Limbaugh said today, there is no Republican Party without Donald Trump at this point. So they're all lining up behind the idiocy of the cult leader. And the cult leader, he's already on the way out.
A guy who wasn't, if he wasn't even the president, would be locked up in a straitjacket and put into an insane asylum.
I don't know about all that, Tom, but I strongly suspect he'd be in a holding cell out on Rikers Island somewhere.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I want to give a shout out to Profane Ronnie for giving me the shout out the other day. And of course, Betsy and Joe from Stevens Point. Dick, all those guys are such great callers that actually add to the conversation every day. And as a past Wisconsinite, it's good to hear good, pragmatic, intelligent people giving their feedback instead of this buying into this Fox News and right-wing hate radio that goes on throughout the rest of the state. Everyone go to domandcroot.com if you're not in the area and listen to these guys, because we need more of this. We just need more of the Tom Hartman, the Devil's Advocate. We need more of all of these guys that are on this radio show every morning and every day. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll keep spreading the word here in Southern California, because we got KPFK here, but that's about it. So the right wing has done a number here as well.
Well, just tell your neighbors they need a longer a longer antenna and they can hear us.
Hey, Tom, make sure you tune in tomorrow. One of your favorites, Greg Pallas, is going to join us at 3:30.
I will definitely be tuning in.
All right, man. I know you
definitely
will.
Be tuning in.
Appreciate it, Tom. Best to you and the family, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I said I appreciate that. I've been waiting for that day, so that'll be great because everyone needs to know what's happening in Georgia, and we got to get those 2 Senate races and whatever it is that we can do to get those people disenfranchised from their votes, especially people of color. We definitely need to do, and hopefully Greg can give us a little bit of a roadmap of how it is to do that. So
I hope
thank
so.
you guys for having them on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And thanks for always reminding me to always invite them, Tom. I appreciate your input, my friend.
You know, we should have a caller Hall of Fame. A caller Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And Tom, you know, either miscongeniality or perhaps message discipline. We the people, Tom never forgets. One time he forgot.
And you never let him forget that he forgot one time.
But he's been listening 6, 7, 8 years maybe.
Oh,
and
it's been a
Tom
long time,
always starts every conversation, prefaces it with, we the people are the government. All of you should have your own little start clause every day. Talking to you, Pizza Box
Hall
Mike.
of Fame, the audience Hall of Fame, another one. Mark from the Sack, you are up. Welcome, Mark. Oh, hang on one second. Mark, what do you got for us today?
Hey, Mark.
Well, and Tom is right. You know, we're the ones who ordained and established the Constitution. And if you don't remember that from reading it, you should remember it from Schoolhouse Rock.
I remember the Saturday night live version of how a bill becomes a bill.
Yeah, that bill becomes law. Yeah, that's great.
Or a law. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just sad. All these, you know, the body count just doesn't seem to matter to the Republicans anymore. I mean, and the sad part is for their voters. I mean, it's because it might be Republican voters that are taking this message that the president delivers not wearing masks, and they're the ones dying, and that the numbers every day. It's just sad. I mean, and eventually it might impact the number of the people that are voting for him. I mean, if these
well, it may. I mean, those are the
wake up.
To your point, I mean, if those are the ones, if it's the Sturgis rally folks, or the Liberate Michigan folks, or the whatever crew that went down to the Madison Capitol, all not wearing masks, all think this is a big party and a big joke and nothing more than an evil tyrannical government trying to keep them down. Well, then it would stand to reason that some of them might catch the coronavirus. And we heard the sound from that nurse from South Dakota yesterday. Their last breath, dying, gasping for breath, and blaming everyone except their personal responsibility. Not blaming Trump. Oh, this can't be real. Can't believe this is happening. Well, what did you think? That this is a conspiracy by Dom and Crute and all the radio guys and the media and Fauci, evil Fauci and the Department of Health Services, and everyone's in on it. All the hospital workers, all the frontline workers, all the fire department and the EMTs that go and pick up the sick people. This is all a big conspiracy. Come on. And it's unfortunate because, as Crudy mentioned, this is not just them putting themselves in danger. That action puts other people in danger, and hence, of course, that's the quandary that we have. The continual struggle and balance over individual rights and freedoms, and versus what is considered to be for the societal collective good. Here we are, and when you have a cult leader and you have cult followers, and they take this thing to the nth degree. Then we have all these deaths, and look around. I mean, you still see Ron Johnson, even when he walked by the senator from Wisconsin and said he wouldn't congratulate, he had nothing to congratulate Joe Biden on. He's wearing a mask. Robin Voss, infamously said, dressed top to bottom in PPE, it's incredibly safe to go out there. Well, I mean, if these are your leaders, and hell, even the president put a mask on once in a while. If these are your leaders, why do you think they're putting masks on? You think are they part of the cabal? It's all part of the conspiracy to maybe get you to, bend to the will of the government against your own personal feelings? Well, how do you explain this? I mean, it's not very difficult. And I certainly hope here in the state of Wisconsin, certainly other states around the country, if you have Republican legislature, get off your asses, get a cohesive, unified message with the other party, and take care of this problem.
Wasn't it Scott Walker that had back-to-back interviews after the vice presidential debate? And he, of course, prepped Mike Pence for that marvelous event. But he went on MSNBC, and Scott Walker wore a mask. But he went on Fox News, and he took the mask off, of course. It's the inconsistent messaging.
Yes.
Inconsistent
Certainly.
messaging.
Yeah.
There was Sherrod Brown from Ohio yesterday chastised one of the committee hearing person in the chair. He said, will you please put on a mask? And the Republican senator said, well, I never wear a mask when I'm addressing people. And Brown, who's across the Senate chamber, said, well, that's fine. But think about all the people you're spraying on, those that are captive to their location and proximity to you. Would you do it for their sake? These Republicans, they don't believe this, Tom. Right-wing talk radio is out there right now, minimizing, just poo-pooing, they've totally blown this out of proportion. If you're not sick or old or obese, don't sweat the coronavirus. Just a small number. Only 92 Wisconsinites died from it today.
Or if you don't have pre-existing conditions. I mean, come on. I mean, what an asinine thing to say. And it's not, herd mentality, as the president likes to say, is not going to get it done. That's just going to mean millions of people are going to die. And we don't have to let that happen. We are a smart and capable, somewhat advanced society. We can culturally and financially handle these if we were all to decide and get on the same page and work together to do so.
That will not happen. There is no sense of cooperation. Republicans would rather let your grandma die. And I'm only being modestly hyperbolic in this regard because the example it's being shown every day in the state of Wisconsin in the mortality rates, they would rather allow your grandma to die than put on a piece of paper on their mouth or maybe get behind the governor of the state of Wisconsin with a cohesive message. You're on the clock, Robin Voss. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We're always on the clock. 844-967-2789. 4 hours every day now. Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say. Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
It's getting cold out there, Wisconsin. Time to bust out your favorite flannel attire and join us on Saturday, November 21st for Flannel Fest, an online concert event raising money for the Keep Wisconsin Warm/Cool Fund, because no Wisconsinite should be without heat during the cold winter months. Flannel Fest features performances from 18 artists across the country, including Blitzen Trapper, Beth Killy Band, The Mascot Theory, and many more. Visit flannelfest.com for more details. Sponsored by Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
First, the Devil's Advocates made radio great again. Now the Devil's Advocates are making radio greater again. The Devil's Advocates are expanding the greatest radio show ever from 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays. Dom and Fancy Brian will kick off the political party at 2. Crudy will help you celebrate the 5 o'clock happy hour. More snark, more politics, more callers, more Devil's Advocates. Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. only on Devil Radio and always streaming live at DARNWI.com.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Black Earth to Columbus. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Little bonus Crudy this hour. Dom, I'm taking the people all the way to 6 o'clock. You only got to do 3. I'm doing 4 today.
You don't have to do 4, but I always
I know,
enjoy
man. I was
talking with you, my
eager
friend.
to get on the radio with you, my little buddy. You know, if I'm having a bad day, this position in front of this microphone, this is my sanctuary where I go talk smack till I feel better again.
Oh, sometimes you need a little more time. We all need some more time, and we love it when you spend your time with us and join us at 844-967-2789. We got some callers.
We're asking for a little more time now. 4 hours a day.
Just a little, just a tad. Evers, apparently, Tony Evers, the governor of the state of Wisconsin, releasing some plan today as well. The Speaker of the Assembly, Robin Vos, apparently has some ideas. Haven't got into all that yet. Perhaps will in the next hour. But in the meantime, we have a bunch of callers holding. Want to get to them. Once again, that number 844-96 Party girl from Madison. It is our pal Betsy. Hey, Betsy, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Betsy.
Hey, you guys. And shout out to Tom. And yes, we the people are the government, and we must never forget that.
Shout out to Betsy, full Betsy.
You guys, I've calmed down a lot since our vice president-elect, or president-elect, excuse me, is coming in, and they're going to make it really hard for him. But I already, the decency, the logic, dealing with this virus. Do you remember Trump saying how the doctors and nurses were making money on those COVID patients if they died of COVID? I mean, all the disgusting things that he's done throughout this really dark time in our country. And if we don't get this under control, you can only imagine the sorrow and the sadness. Too many people have died. Over 250,000 people within 6 months, is it now? My God, I just thank you guys for all that you do. And, I do have a lighter heart, just like I do with Tony Evers. And I'm still going to call him up and say, get on the show with you.
266-1212, Tony Evers' office number here in Madison. Again, that's 608-266-1212.
All right, you guys. Thank you for all that you do, and shout out to all of your callers. Everyone, I love you all.
Well, we have our favorites too, Betsy, and you're one of them.
Thank you, Betsy.
844-967-2789. A couple of show notes. We've got a fine author, Ian Gervitz, his book, Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. Are you listening, LA Tom? And then also, Joe Parisi, Dane County Executive. My understanding, there is a new directive coming, and we will share it with you in the 5 o'clock hour. Dane County will have a new directive. Joe Parisi, you'll hear it from the horse's mouth. He has announced he is running for re-election. That race will be in April of 2021. But back to the phones, Tom, 844-967-2789. Our pal Profane, the profanest of all the Ronnies I know.
Hey, Ronnie.
Hi, guys. Hall of Fame, and we have to come up with our own catchphrase. Well, being Profane Ronnie, I can't have my catchphrase. But if I were to have a catchphrase, it would be something like bleep them bleeping bleepers. So yeah,
we can do that, Ronnie. You'll just put in a little sound over the audio, and we'll play it out on the FCC airwaves.
Bleep you bleeping bleepers.
Yep, a noun, an adjective, and an adverb.
It is a very versatile word, Ronnie.
Ronnie, are you seeing any change with your neighbors? You're in Waukesha County, if I remember correctly. Are you seeing more compliance with mask mandates, or is it still the wild, wild west out there?
No, well, I live in Muskego, and you would think that there is no such thing as a virus. It was ridiculous. I mean, like at Pick and Save and stuff like that, yeah, everybody's wearing masks. My husband wanted to watch part of the game at our local bar right down the street, and I said, okay, only for a little bit, and only if it's not crowded, which it hasn't been, through this whole thing. So at least a lot of people are not going out. But we went in there. I wore my mask the entire time that we were there, and people gave me looks. People gave me shit, bad words, and after one person left, she texted the bartender and said, if you're that afraid of the virus, then don't leave your house. And the bartender showed me, and she goes, oh, do you know what she's talking about? And I go, oh, yeah, that's me. She's bad-mouthing me.
Simply because you were wearing a mask, Ronnie.
Yes.
The simple act of wearing a mask during a pandemic
shows that I'm afraid. Well, the guy that was sitting sort of next to me, as close as I was, he was probably 5 feet away. And he's like, yeah, nice mask. And I said, well, I got a little tightness in my chest and a little bit of a cough, and I really don't want to get you sick. I don't want to be the super spreader here, And I could tell the way the owner looked at me. He did not want me wearing that mask. So, and it's like.
Isn't that idiotic, though?
If I'm going to go. It is.
Ronnie, why would they care if you're protecting yourself or perhaps their customers? Why are they so damn offended by your act of selflessness?
Because it's not that big of a deal. According to them, this whole thing, they don't even know what a long hauler is. They don't know any residual effects stories. They don't know anyone who's died. They don't know anyone who's been on a ventilator. They are on this whole, not a big deal. And I am just waiting for one of them to be on a respirator. I'm going to say, geez, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Well, at this trajectory, if this rate of transmission, Ronnie, everybody's going to know somebody. And I hope it's not someone that died.
And the attitude of those, that would think that this is not a big deal, that those that think this is something that was, created simply to go against, Donald Trump. I got to tell you, Ronnie, I think it might be that they are offended by what they perceive as your acquiescence to the man, to the overbearing government telling you lies and fooling you into doing this. And I would point out, well, aren't these the Trump supporters that do everything that Donald Trump tells them to do? And isn't he the man right now? Thank you for the call, Ronnie.
Some people earn their bad reputations, and Profane Ronnie's one of them. Come back with us. Hour 2 is next. More Devil's Advocates. You're listening right now.
Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey.
I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy.
And Rocker Rye Whiskey is dedicated to the Madison music scene?
It sure is, Jimmy. You can read the story on the back of the bottle at any of these fine locations. Star Liquor, Woodman's, Trixie's Liquor, Vic Pierce, Miller & Sons in Verona, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, and enjoy Rocker Rye Whiskey at the Lazy Oaf Lounge and Sal's Dark Horse. Find out more at rockervodka.com.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience, the only choice, Lawton & Cates.
I chose Lawton & Cates because I was looking for a team of lawyers that had case law studies. I'm very pleased with the outcome. The Lawton & Cates attorneys have done an excellent job in protecting my interests.
If your life is disrupted by an injury or other legal dispute, trust the voice of experience. Call the attorneys at Lawton & Cates, 282-6200, 282-6200.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at talk927fm.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The Pentagon has plans to speed up troop withdrawals from Iraq and Afghanistan. during President Trump's final days in office. The AP's Sagar Meghani has the story.
Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller says the U.S. will pull more than 2,500 troops from Afghanistan and 500 from Iraq by January 15th, leaving about 2,500 in each.
I celebrate this day as we continue the president's consistent progress in completing the mission we began nearly 2 decades ago.
But the plan falls short of the president's pledge to end the wars and runs counter to his guidance that pullouts be based on conditions, not the calendar. Some GOP leaders and U.S. allies have been warning against a rash withdrawal. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Iraq's military says 4 rockets struck inside Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone near the U.S. Embassy. At least 2 people were wounded. Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland is tightening coronavirus restrictions.
This deadly virus has now taken the lives of 4,186 Marylanders.
Hogan is a Republican and says he wants to see the transition start from a Trump to Biden White House.
We have to make sure that there's a smooth handoff. I'm hopeful that we will, and I think it's getting better. But we have a brand new team that has not been involved.
A new study warns an abbreviated transition could slow Joe Biden's ability to fill the more than 1,200 administrative jobs requiring Senate confirmation. In Iowa, Governor Kim Reynolds has pushed back against a mask mandate for months, but has imposed a limited one today. The rising infection rates are prompting some school districts around the country to revert to remote learning. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says the pandemic could slow the economy in the months ahead by discouraging consumers from spending. This is AP News.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fee. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, we grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 5nines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com. First, the Devil's Advocates made radio great again. Now the Devil's Advocates are making radio greater again. The Devil's Advocates are expanding the greatest radio show ever from 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays. Dom and Fancy Brian will kick off the political party at 2. Crudy will help you celebrate the 5 o'clock happy hour. More snark, more politics, more callers, more Devil's Advocates. Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. only on Devil Radio and always streaming live at DARNWI.com.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. President Donald Trump's campaign would have to pay $7.9 million by Wednesday evening to move forward with a recount of the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin, the State Elections Commission said Monday. That estimated cost is about 4 times the actual cost of the 2016 presidential recount in Wisconsin. Megan Wolf, head of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, said the larger price tag is in part because of new COVID-19 pandemic procedures. In a prepared statement, Wolf said that includes a need for larger spaces to permit public observation and social distancing and security for those spaces. Forecast of sunny skies throughout the day today with a mostly cloudy evening, high of 40 degrees, low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the 2 for Tuesday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, I don't feel bad stealing the glory of hour 1 and calling this
man.
hour 2.
You're welcome to join me anytime, man. It's always more fun with you.
I attended the Zoom class today. I was there. Put me down in the book, teacher. Now, Dominic, recount in the state of Wisconsin. Before that can happen, there has to be a canvass of the votes. And I understand that perhaps we've crossed the threshold and maybe Donald Trump is now on the clock.
Crudy, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reporting, Patrick Marley, Craig Gilbert, and Eric Littke. Democrat Joe Biden slightly widened his small victory margin in Wisconsin, according to the final presidential vote tallies counties submitted to the state on Tuesday. The canvass of the votes by Wisconsin's 72 counties showed Biden won Wisconsin by 20,608 votes. That's an improvement of 181 votes for Biden compared to the unofficial results in the November 3rd election. The completion of the canvass gave President Donald Trump a little over 24 hours to decide whether to commence a statewide recount, which he has promised to pursue. His campaign will have to pay the state $7.9 million to cover the cost of the recount before it can begin. Trump could also pursue a more limited and less expensive recount that focuses only on certain counties, but overturning the result through a recount is exceedingly unlikely. A recount of presidential votes in 2016 resulted in a net change of 131 votes, preserving Trump's win of fewer than 23,000 votes that year. Trump would need to win Wisconsin and reverse the results in other states as well to secure a second term. Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes aren't enough on their own to change the overall outcome because Biden won 306 electoral votes and Trump won 232.
Fisher cut bait time. Now we're going to find out the legitimacy of these efforts, these post-electoral efforts to win the great state of Wisconsin.
He's already said he's doing it. Remember? Didn't he already say it? So, I mean, take it to the bank, right? Etched in stone. It's going to happen.
Well,
right?
I'll take $7.9 million down to the bank, put it in escrow. And as soon as he produces cash, up front, then we'll commence the recount.
7.9. I mean, it's really not a lot of money to a billionaire, but I have such complex taxes, and it might take me a little more time than that to, access my capital. I have to, move some things around and, lots of buying and selling to do in order to, liquidate some assets in order to come up with that $8 million. So it may not happen because he's just not going to have time to, go through all of his expanded assets and decide which one to purge in order to pay for that.
Well, he can't just take it out of the Trump Foundation anymore like it's petty cash, Dom.
No,
like he's
can't do
robbing
that.
a children's charity. Those glorious days are behind us. Real quick, the Raw story reporting President Donald Trump said he wants a recount in Wisconsin after losing the state by about 20,500 votes. But if he wants the recount, he has to pony up almost $8 million. The Associated Press reported Monday the price tag is 4 times higher than the recount cost 4 years ago. Inflation, a cost increase that election officials said was driven by expenses related to conducting a recount during the coronavirus pandemic. And to make matters more difficult, Trump needs to come up with the money and pay for it by 5 p.m. Wednesday at the latest. So as you're leaving the airwaves, and I'm just, getting ready for the happiest of happy hours, Dom, we will find out whether or not Donald Trump put the money on deposit. And 501, would they still accept the money at 501 or 5 o'clock
man.
Kanye style,
We went
baby?
through this,
5 o'clock
right,
or
baby?
nothing. It says here, if the state is smart, they'll ask for the money up front. Of course, that is a prerequisite because, as you know, Dom, Trump is notorious for not paying municipalities for the security costs he incurred while campaigning in their cities and towns. As of this summer, Trump racked up over $2 million in unpaid security costs to police departments that he refused to pay over the past several years. He maintains that the Secret Service pays for it, but when it's a campaign event, the U.S. Secret Service doesn't foot the bill. The campaign has to. We have still not received any indication that there will or will not be a recount, said Chief Election Official Megan Wolf, but we want Wisconsin voters to know we are ready. And then should read here in parentheticals, we are ready to stick it to the Trump organization. $8 million, pony up, big boy. That's going to hurt because $8 million, he doesn't have it. And it's going
Pay
to
people to get some work done. I mean, it'll help the economy, and the added benefit of being able to enjoy Trump losing twice. I hope he does it. I really do.
You hope he squanders the $8 million then loses the recount.
Yes.
Perhaps
absolutely.
they'll build upon the vote tally. 181 more for Joe Biden. Well, I bet you there's probably another 10 votes Biden could pick up statewide. It'd all be worth it, right? Trump would probably get 20, cut the margin by 10, and lose the state by about 20,590.
Oh, okay. There you go. Real quick, in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, a couple of counties here. 3 counties reported a swing of 100 votes or more for one candidate. Grant County added 161 for Trump. Price subtracted 100 for Biden, and Shawano subtracted 274 votes for Trump. Both candidates padded their vote totals in the Milwaukee metropolitan area, but Biden added more to his total than Trump did. In Milwaukee County, Biden gained 19 votes and Trump gained 2. In Waukesha, Biden gained 39, Trump gained 16. And in Washington, Biden gained 3 and Trump gained 2. And in Ozaki, Biden gained 2 and Trump's total remained unchanged.
844-967-2789. Still time for Big Mac in this segment. Welcome back, Big Mac. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mac.
What's up? What's up, T-Bone and Dominator? How you doing? The Dominator. That's my nickname for Dom.
You know it, man. I'll take it, Mac.
He was giving you a pile driver there last week, but that's okay.
I hope you're talking wrestling style and not porn style, but please continue.
Well, that's Stormy Daniels. We'll get into that later. Did you see the Onion headline today?
No.
I missed the Onion in my perusal of the headlines. Please share it with us, though.
Trump national recount will last 4 years.
Well, they are
No,
hand
that's
counting all the
amazing.
ballots in Georgia, right?
Hey, that's Big Mac with onion. That's not the real onion. I got another one. Trump wants to go out with a bang, and I'm not talking about Stormy Daniels either.
Do you think
There's
he's
a bombing on Iran? They stopped him. I don't think he would have really did it, but it looks good on paper that he was going to maybe bomb Iran.
Well, I'm not convinced that any of those things can't happen yet. The man's a lunatic. He still has the codes and the football, and ultimately he's the commander in chief. So hopefully, if those things were ever to come to pass, if the reporting is accurate, that Trump was inquiring as to what military action take against Iran before he leaves. Apparently, somewhat cooler heads prevaed.
Tony, let's just say
everybody at the Pentagon.
Tony, let's just say everything's on the table still.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if Trump has the football, he's going to deflate it. But anyway, I was going to say too, even if we got rid of all righty-whitey talk radio, it wouldn't change anything because it's the internet, stupid. I was reading that article and it was great about it's the radio, talk radio, stupid.
Yeah.
But that was years ago. Now it's become the internet. I hate to say it, as much as we love radio and you're on the air every day. If you got rid of radio tomorrow, it wouldn't change it.
I don't know. I think here's what I think you're wrong,
it's
Mac.
Pervasive, dude. It's
I think you
1,500
discount
stations in coordination with the same lineup, dude. Big Mac. I mean, I get that you think the internet is powerful. I think the internet is powerful. And I've seen other things saying that the Republicans effectively dominate, especially the false narratives of the interwebs. But if you drive out anywhere in rural America and you turn it over to the AM radio dial, you got Rush Limbaugh, man. You probably got Rush Limbaugh coming off a couple different stations. And that
is if you just change that, then they'll just move over. Just like Fox News now, people move to Newsmax or Parler. I mean, it's just the way we work.
Well,
now.
but here it's the distribution as well, Big Mac. We do not have high-speed internet, like we do in the city. I mean, I got fiber to my house. Good luck getting that, way up north. It's just not available for a huge chunk of people in this country, Mac.
Yeah. Well, maybe
not yet, anyway.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, they got AM radio in their pickup trucks, in their tractors. I mean, effectively, anyone that wants to listen to Rush Limbaugh can listen to Rush Limbaugh. Not everyone's got access to a podcast or Newsmax.
What'd you think of the footage from the beatdowns that went down in D.C. this weekend? I mean,
reminded me of beating down Dominic in college, dominating them.
What? No, Big Mac, it's terrible, man. You never want to see people fighting in the streets, people getting stabbed and, using their Trump flags as weapons. I mean, it's par for the course. I'd like to think these are the death throes of a failing ideology and a failing cult. But, again, these folks are going to continue to exist in our society, Mac. They're not going away. They're not going anywhere. And Donald Trump will no longer be the president, but he still will be Donald Trump. And hopefully he'll have his hands tied up in all sorts of litigation, justifiably, I would imagine, that we can get some justice for the wrongdoings of this president, certainly the fraud, alleged fraud, insurance fraud, and perhaps money laundering. And maybe we can get to the bottom of the whole Russian issue. But that aside, he's still going to be here, Mac. And all of his followers are still going to be here. So these things are going to continue.
What do I got to be, T-Bone? I mean, Dominator, that's kind of a cool,
got to be
man.
T-Bone.
I'm the Dominator. Hi, I'm T-Bone. I mean, maybe if you're trying to self-moniker T-Bone.
No, you can never self-moniker.
Crudy, much better. Just Crudy. Crudy to you. Mr. Crudy to the rest. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. 844-967-2789.
Jimmy, it's the day after the election and the president wants to cancel Max Inc. Radio for Christmas music.
He can't do that, Rocker. We have the devil on our side.
All new Max Inc. Radio, Saturdays 6 to midnight. New features like live music, local artists and interviews with plenty of throwbacks. Chat with Jimmy K and Rocker using the Max Inc. Radio chat room. Or call the studio live and make a request. It's all new Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
You can't kill local music, Rocker. Call him back and tell him he's fired. Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey.
I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy.
And Rocker Rye Whiskey is dedicated to the Madison music scene?
It sure is, Jimmy. You can read the story on the back of the bottle at any of these fine locations. Star Liquor, Woodman's, Trixie's Liquor, Vic Pierce, Miller & Sons in Verona, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, and enjoy Rocker Rye Whiskey at the Lazy Oaf Lounge and Sal's Dark Horse. Find out more at rockervodka.com.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
I'm Alan Robinson, host of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I am from this city, and I am in these streets, speaking truth to power Monday through Friday about your issues. Join me from 6 to 7 p.m. on Devil Radio.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
You guys are getting it done.
You boys are the light of my day, and I've been listening to you for many years.
I love you guys. You're the greatest thing that has happened to Wisconsin radio.
If it wasn't for your radio program and getting out the vote, who knows?
I got to give you guys so many props. I'm pretty sure your guys' radio station had a direct impact on that.
You're welcome, everybody, and thank you. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. And that's pretty cool.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Phone lines always open for our fair audience. You can always join us at 844-967-2789.
Donald Trump on the clock and on the cash register needs to drop $7.9 million on the nightstand by tomorrow night at 5 p.m. if he wants a recount in the state of Wisconsin. And his litigation not going so well in many of the cases and the reporting I'm seeing thereof, Dom. And also, there was this accusation being leveled against Senator Lindsey Graham. A little, tampering, perhaps. The Secretary of State of Georgia, also a Republican, I might add. Dominic, I've got a Washington Post piece. Karen Tumulty, Lindsey Graham's claim that he wasn't interfering in the Georgia vote doesn't add up. So who are you going to believe? Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, when he says that one of President Trump's most reliable allies pressured him to throw out legitimate votes during a laborious hand recount of ballots in a state that Joe Biden won by a nose, or Senator Lindsey Graham, who says that he was doing nothing of the sort when the two of them talked last Friday. Here's a quote. Lindsey, if he feels threatened by that conversation, he's got a problem. I actually thought it was a good conversation. Kind of like Trump, right? In the transcripts of the Zelensky conversation. It was a perfect conversation.
Perfect call, yes.
Tumulty writes, a good conversation. It's hard to miss the uncomfortable echo of Trump's claim that he was impeached for a perfect phone call. I beat you to the punch, Karen, in which he pressured Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in 2019 to dig up dirt on Biden's son. But at least in Trump's case, it's not hard to see why he and Zelensky would have been on the phone. Heads of government speak to each other all the time. Why in the world was Graham, who is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, nosing around in the ballot counting process of a state he doesn't even represent? Raffensperger, who it should be noted is conservative, who says he never voted for a Democrat. In his 2018 runoff election, Trump endorsed him in a tweet as someone who would be a fantastic Secretary of State for Georgia. The president praised Raffensperger, an engineer and state legislator, as tough on crime and borders, loves our military and vets. He will be great for jobs! Exclamation point. But when Raffensperger received a message on Friday that Graham had called him, he told CBS This Morning on Tuesday he assumed the South Carolina senator wanted to discuss the January 5th runoff races for both of Georgia's Senate seats. So he returned the call. Raffensperger said he was surprised to discover that Graham wanted instead to talk about the ongoing audit of the presidential race and the state law that matches signatures to mail ballots to assure their legitimacy. According to what Raffensperger told my Post colleague Amy Gardner in an interview, Graham raised a conspiracy theory that suggested biased poll workers might have accepted ballots with non-matching signatures. The implication was stunning and impossible to miss. Raffensperger told Gardner that Graham was urging him to find a way to toss legally cast ballots, something the Secretary of State does not have the power to do absent court intervention. Even if he were so inclined, it sure looked like he wanted to go down that road, Raffensperger said. He said he didn't argue with Graham. I really just got off the call. I said I would circle back. I get that a lot from political sorts. Raffensperger told CBS News after speaking with his counsel, he decided not to get back and re-engage. On Tuesday, the senator told reporters on Capitol Hill that he had also spoken about the vote counting procedures with officials in Arizona. In Nevada, out of concern about election integrity. For doing his job, according to the law in the 2020 election, Raffensperger has been subjected to abuse and even, he says, death threats. Georgia's two Republican senators, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, have called on him to resign. All of this, no doubt, spurred by claims from the president himself that the election is being stolen from him. Don't forget Rush Limbaugh. That was his lead today. It isn't Biden won. He did by not flipping Georgia from red to not only flipping Georgia from red to blue, but also amassing 306 electoral votes in a popular vote margin that stands at upwards of 5.6 million votes and is growing. Dominic, 306 electoral votes, that's a landslide. This is not a landslide, though. Trump declared that reaching the exact same total of electoral votes in 2006 was one, but it is also not a particularly close result.
Crudy, Raffensperger has expressed confidence that the ultimate tally certified in Georgia will confirm that the election in his state was conducted with integrity. His quote, as a Republican, I wish the results would go another way, but I think that at the end of the day, what you're going to see in this audit is going to verify what the machines counted and then will certify, he said Tuesday. No matter what your political leanings, this should be a cause for celebration that our democracy is sound and fair. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for some of those who are elected under that system. Again, the Washington Post, I'm assuming she refers to Mr. Graham. Now, we do have some sound of this. We have the
do we have time
Georgia
for the
Secretary of State. I don't think we do right now, unfortunately. We'll come back after the break, play a little bit of this, because I think this is serious. And this was actually, when I saw some of the reporting on this, is when I reached out to Greg Palast last night, because he had tweeted it out, and that kind of brought my attention to it. I think there's a big problem here, and I think the way this article ends kind of takes away from the fact. Lindsey Graham's getting on the horn and calling people from other states to what? To poke his nose into where it doesn't belong, where he is all of a sudden now the arbiter of what is a just and fair election? How could this possibly be anything other than a call to influence? Are you offering your services to count, Lindsey? We have some sound from the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, also from Lindsey Graham. We'll get to that and some more of your phone calls as well after the break at 844-967-2789.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
I'm Stephanie Hoff, your host, and this podcast is brought to you by Spectrum. The three Wisconsin residents who sued to throw out the presidential votes in heavily Democratic Dane, Menominee, and Milwaukee counties this morning dismissed their suit. Pat Pabletti is on the line with me today. And Pat, this suit only lived over the weekend. So what can you tell us about the quick dismissal?
Not too much right now, Stephanie. We did talk to Indiana attorney Jim Bopp, who was involved in this suit as well as 3 others filed in Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania on behalf of the conservative group Trust the Vote. And what he said is he couldn't comment on what the plaintiffs may do next, citing attorney-client privilege. And Stephanie, like you mentioned, this was just filed on Friday, and we did talk about it last week. So if listeners want a little bit more information on kind of what this suit was alleging, you can go back and listen to last Friday's episode. But essentially, this move to withdraw this suit came just minutes before a scheduled teleconference on the case. Now, these motions to withdraw the cases filed in federal court voluntarily dismiss the suits without prejudice, which does leave the door open for the actions being refiled in the future.
In the meantime, Pat, how are the canvases going?
Yeah, Stephanie, and this is another kind of aspect that does have some potential to change the vote, although we're coming to the tail end of the canvass process and it hasn't really shifted any votes substantially. So over the weekend, we saw 3 more counties submit certified results to the state. Those were Oneida, Sawyer, and Waukesha counties. Now, overall, those netted Joe Biden 1 total vote. So he picked up 43 votes across those 3 counties over unofficial results tallied on election night and reported on the Elections Commission website, whereas Trump picked up 42 from those 3 counties. So overall, the canvass process, which has been concluded in 67 of the state's 72 counties, have added a total of 176 votes for Biden and 100 for Trump.
So with this suit now out the window and the verification process putting Biden at a larger lead, where do things stand now with a potential presidential recount?
Yeah, Stephanie, and it's probably pretty important that we talked about the canvass process before the recount process, because those two are tied together in a kind of interesting way. So the actual deadline to ask for a recount is within 1 business day of the last county submitting their canvass to the state. So as we mentioned just a minute ago, 67 of the state's 72 counties have submitted their results to the state, which means as of this morning, Brown, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Rock, and Wood counties are still outstanding. So should those counties take up until tomorrow's deadline, then the deadline to ask for a recount would be at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Now, to go over some of the technical details of this, Stephanie, that 1-day window opens and the Trump campaign both has to request a recount and pay the estimated cost of that recount upfront before that deadline of 5 p.m., or else the recount process will not be initiated. Now, Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf said Thursday that she expects counties to have a finalized estimate on what their costs will be by today. Also worth noting, Stephanie, that in 2016, when there was a presidential recount that canvassed the whole state, the total costs were just over $2 million, but the estimated cost came in roughly $1.8 million higher than the actual costs ended up being. And in that case, that money is obviously refunded back to the campaign.
Kofefe, hamburgers, smoking gun. Tired of trying to decode the tweeter in chief? Make sure you follow the greatest radio station ever, @Devil Radio.
The devil's advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a 2 for Tuesday special. Dominic, the lawsuits in, the Trump lawsuits, they're fizzling, according to thehill.com.
Yeah, they are.
They're not doing so well in the courts of law. The newest one, the Pennsylvania courts, who rebuffed Trump's campaign's vote count observation lawsuit. They weren't allowed close enough, Dom. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court on Tuesday sided 5-2 against the Trump campaign in a lawsuit alleging that its representatives have been unlawfully deprived of an adequate opportunity to watch the vote count in the Democratic stronghold of Philadelphia. The defeat was the latest in a series of disappointing rulings for the Trump campaign. Oh, that's sad. Whose scattershot legal effort has come nowhere close to overturning President Trump's electoral laws and has produced none of the systematic fraud that the that Trump and his allies have baselessly claimed to be the source of President-elect Joe Biden's projected victory. The dispute arose after the Trump campaign sued the Philadelphia Board of Elections, seeking more leeway for its vote count observers at the Philadelphia Convention Center. The campaign argued its watchers had been forced to stand too far away, Dom. You know, like I like to keep you at a distance.
So far away from me.
Some 15 to 18 feet to effectively carry out their duties. A state trial court rejected the campaign's argument, but an intermediate appellate court reversed, ordering campaign representatives to be allowed to observe the canvassing process from within a 6-foot distance. You know, who needs social distancing for the Trump campaign? The Philadelphia board appealed to the state Supreme Court, which ruled in its favor Tuesday. Here's a statement, Dom. In sum, we conclude the board did not act contrary to the law in fashioning its regulations governing the positioning of candidate representatives because the election code does not specify minimum distance parameters for the location of such representatives. In other words, go get your frickin' shine box.
So how many cases lost, tossed out? I mean, again, and even if you give the president
for 16-ish,
something like that, you give the campaign the benefit of the doubt. They want to challenge things. Okay, right? Republicans, let the legal process play out. Right, Ron Johnson? Right, Scott Fitzgerald? Right, Republicans, let it play out. Okay,
just indulge the president a little bit in his madness.
Are we done yet? Are we done yet? What has he won? What has been turned over? Zero, as far as I can tell. So it would be very nice if some of the Republicans, because you're not in the representation game if you're not a political creature. And if you know, as a political creature, you know the words that you say will influence your constituencies. It certainly has the power to do so. The example that you set will influence the cult members. So how about you just say we did our part, we let the courts do their work, and acknowledge that the former vice president is now the president-elect, and get on with it.
Well, we've got more legal updates, Dom, from the Trump campaign. Headline here, apparently regarding the legal spearhead, Rudy Giuliani, leading the legal efforts in the federal courts in Pennsylvania. The Raw Story reports the headline, just disgraceful. Rudy Giuliani ripped in court for living in a fantasy world. Apparently by the judge, one must assume. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani had a tough day on Tuesday. Oh, that's sad. In his quest to have President Donald Trump remain in office, despite losing the 2020 presidential race. Giuliani was in federal court in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, and during a break in the hearing, learned the Trump campaign had lost their lawsuit at the Keystone State Supreme Court. Mark Aronchek, a lawyer for the Allegheny County Board of Elections, is furious with Giuliani. He says he's living in a fantasy world, and his allegations about election officials being in a mafia are disgraceful. LA Times correspondent Chris Midgerin reported Tuesday. So, anyways, that was a brief read. But Rudy not doing well in the courts.
As you could possibly imagine. I mean, hell, it's got to be happy hour for Rudy. Doesn't it start like 8 a.m.? But who's I to judge? We talked about the sound. I want to get this out there. Then we'll get to some of your callers, 844-967-2789. Again, this is a Lindsey Graham, a Republican, apparently applying some pressure to the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. We have some sound of that. Jimmy K stepping in. Good to be with you, my friend. Let's start out with some of the Lindsey Graham sound, and then we'll go back and play the Raffensperger interview, at least a couple of the sound bites with CNN's Wolf Blitzer. Let's start with cut number 11. Apparently, he says he did not threaten the Secretary of State. Let's play cut 11, please.
If he feels threatened by that conversation, he's got a problem. I actually thought it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
You know, the only time I've spoken in terms like that is after I've threatened somebody and then claimed that I did not threaten them.
No, officer, if you feel threatened by that. Which is great conversation. Hey, officer, if he thinks I was threatening him, well, there's something wrong with him. You know what I mean? We were just talking over here. Don't worry about it. See, this is Lindsey.
Little roughhousing between friends.
Let's hear some more. Cut 12, please.
I never said that. I said, do you have power as Secretary of State to require bipartisan verification of a signature? Because right now they don't.
Lindsey Graham trying to explain away his phone call.
I thought you were going to say the gay.
The need, the signature verification, a very touchy subject with Lindsey. Cut 13, please.
If we're going to use more mail-in balloting, we need to have signature verification.
Signature verification seems very innocuous when he says it like that, Tom.
And
how could you construe that as threatening or tampering or unethical?
Never, Your Honor, never would do something like that. Of course not. It's beyond the pale, sir. Cut 14.
We want bipartisan observers when it comes to counting the votes.
All right, so that's Lindsey, a little bit of Lindsey. Here's Raffensperger, an interview with Wolf Blitzer on CNN. What did Lindsey Graham ask? Cut 2.
Senator Lindsey Graham on Friday, you came away with the impression that he essentially wanted you to look for ways to toss out mail-in ballots. What exactly did he say to you?
Well, he asked if the ballots could be matched back to the voters, and then I got the sense it implied that then you could throw those out. And he really would look at the counties with the highest frequent error of signatures.
Interesting. Let's keep going. Cut
How would he get
3.
that impression?
I don't know. Cut 3, just to be sure.
I just want to be clear on this, Mr. Secretary. You say Senator Graham wanted you to find ways to get rid of legally cast ballots because CNN asked him about these allegations. He denied them. He says that's ridiculous. His words, that's ridiculous.
Well, it's just an implication that look hard and see how many ballots you could throw out. And I think that they were looking at that as part of a court case. And one actually was subsequently filed, wasn't it?
Look hard and see how many ballots you can throw out. I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. I would prefer to look hard and count all the ballots. Let's make sure we're doing the will
but your guy
of the
won the election.
I would want that even if my guy didn't win the election. You see, I'd like to think I'm consistent in this regard. And if it ever gets to the point, certainly, folks, Crudy, you'll call me out on it. Hypocrisy is a big freaking problem for me. And I just have concerns, again, that these people are quote unquote leaders of the Republican Party. I mean, Lindsey Graham has been around a long, long, long time. And this is what he's into now, trying to shake down a local Secretary of State in Georgia. This is your job? How far we have fallen. One more, Blitzer and Raffensperger, the attacks on Trump and counting all the votes. Cut 4, please, Jimmy K.
The president, as you well know, has attacked you personally. He's calling the Georgia recount, and you're in charge of that. He says it's a scam, a waste of time. You're the man in charge of that recount. Are those words you'd use to describe it? How's it going, the recount?
Well, what we decided to do is 100% risk limit audit. And we decided also to, as part of that, to do 100% manual retally. So we are, in effect, hand recounting all those ballots. And so some counties are coming with 0 changes. And yet today in Floyd County, we found about nearly 3,000 votes, about 800 plus for President Trump. And that's why you do an audit, to make sure that every vote is accurately counted. That was a county election error. It wasn't the machine error, but still, that's why you do an audit. It's just like why accountants come in and do audited financials at the end of the day. We want to make sure this vote is very accurate. We understand the national importance of this.
Financial audits, you say?
I would release my taxes if the audits were done. That was Raffensperger, Secretary of State of Georgia, on the CNNs. Now, my understanding is Georgia will complete that hand count, that counting, that audit by tomorrow.
That's a lot of hand counting,
844-967-2789. Some people hanging on the lines. Let's get to them. Andy from Beaver Dam, you are first. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Andy.
Well, I think the Republicans are grasping at straws. They're desperate efforts to try to, discredit the election and everything. And I don't know. I think that good old Biden is going to just have to hang loose until the 20th. And when he'll be able to officially evict Trump out of the White House, and we'll get on with our government. I mean, it's just it's crazy, but we knew this was going to happen. All right, we knew that he wasn't going to go away quietly if the thing didn't roll his way, and so as a result, it's just whatever it is. By the way, I went into Milwaukee last night after picking up on some inventory, and went to Balistrades on 60th and Wells, and had some pizza, and everybody was wearing their masks, and everybody's they're, especially in Milwaukee, I think they're more concerned about COVID, and they're not screwing around like that Ronnie said over there in Muskego, where everybody hardcore there,
Oh, come on, man. Don't cast aspersions at Muskego. You're from Dodge County.
Well, yeah, right. I should talk, right? Yeah. This place here is like, holy smokes. They're still pissing and moaning about what happened to the election and stuff, but they'll eventually get used to it. Hey, is Matt on in the mornings now?
Yeah, man. Got to set your alarm 6 to 8 a.m. Central Time.
Oh, that's
Matt
early.
Flynn Direct.
Exactly. I'm an old 73-year-old night owl, so I gotta set the alarm and get up and hear him on there.
Can I recommend the podcast, sir?
I know. But I'm still living in the 20th century. I don't even have a smartphone, so I got to get with the program, though. With the modern era and stuff like that. We don't have internet problems out here like you were talking about up north, where people can't get anything. I think
So you got some high speed up by you, Andy?
Oh yeah, I don't know about any 5G, but I think that there's, if you got a smartphone, you can pretty well do it. I'm thinking. My son does it all the time. I don't know, but I'm sitting here with this flip phone and
rotary dial, Andy.
What's that?
Rotary style, where you.
Exactly, yeah, right. I did get my landline up about 2009 or something, but yeah, it's it really you got to get with the program, and I'm not there yet, but one of these days I'll be all right.
One of these days, man. As long as you're finding the devil's advocates, Andy, you're doing all right.
You're with the
call,
program, man.
That's right.
You call us up on your rotary dial flip phone, and you can hear yourself on the radio, and it's super cool.
I'm not clear about Joe Biden. I appreciate the tact he's taken so far. Still trying to get things done, preparing. But as time passes and certain events will happen, and everything will be canvassed and certified as we get closer and closer to the official. I don't think for a minute Biden waits till the 20th. I mean, as soon as this thing comes down, as soon as you get the official, it is game on. And I hope that the Trumpsters will realize that the game is over when the Electoral College meets and all that gets done, and they'll be in December.
That's like December 14th, man. I can't wait that long. I'm into instant gratification.
Well,
Come back
right, I'm
with us.
down, but what that's not is January.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
I'm Alan Robinson, host of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I am from this city, and I am in these streets, speaking truth to power Monday through Friday about your issues. Join me from 6 to 7 p.m. on Devil Radio.
The Lazy Oaf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
Senator Ron Johnson talking about staying out of bars. How does that pair with your thought that schools should reopen in the fall? You got a room full of school students or a room full of bar patrons. What's the difference?
Because schools, students, it's rare, very rare to have them have a very serious medical effect from COVID.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
You shouldn't have older school teachers or school teachers with some of the comorbidities.
From Columbus to Fox Lake, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open 844-967-2789. In case you haven't figured that out, that's 844-96-PARTY. It is a political party, especially when you join.
Dominic, we have a fine guest, Ian Gervitz, author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. He's going to join us at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. And then in the 5 o'clock happy hour, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi, my county executive, he is running for re-election also. A new pandemic directive coming from Joe Parisi. 5 o'clock, got to stick around for that. The new 4-hour edition of the Devil's Advocates. Everyone loves it. I've heard lots of good things on the street.
Yeah, people are talking about it. It's kind of a big
deal.
They're
talking about it. 844-967-2789. Uh-oh, we lost our screen calls. We'll have to let you screen ahead, Dom. We like modest screening, a Scotia screening.
Name and where you're calling from.
Well, I just want to know our soberish. That's the only precursor. Speaking of soberish, Dom, quick story. Donald Trump Jr. appears to concede that Biden defeated his old man.
No.
According to the Raw story, Fredo Jr. and his siblings have been vocal incorrectly about their supposed belief that President Donald Trump won the election. But a new campaign text message suggests he's well aware of the fact that his father actually lost the race to President-elect Joe Biden. On Monday, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, NRSC, sent out a text message as the organization campaigns for the upcoming Georgia runoff, where 2 Senate seats are up on the line, reports mediate. Without those 2 seats, the Republican Party will lose control of the Senate. And Trump Jr. aimed to raise awareness about that in his text. However, he also appeared to acknowledge something else. The 2020 presidential election is a loss that they will have to move on from. In other words, suck it. It's Don Jr. I'm doing my Don Jr. It's Don Jr. If Democrats win the runoffs in Georgia, they'll take control of the Senate. We cannot afford to let that happen. We need 2 more patriots in your area to join us. You could put us over the top. The text message read. Trump Jr., quote, has also been included in the Forbes editorial titled, Trump victory claims erode as more Republican senators acknowledge Biden win. Based on that editorial, columnist Andrew Solender noted that Trump Jr.'s text appears to imply Democrat Kamala Harris will be the tie-breaking vote, and thus Biden is president-elect. Although the outcome of the election is apparent, and Trump Jr. appears to have also suggested it, the president is still refusing to back down and concede despite having no path to 270 electoral votes. He did tweet something of the effect that Joe won because he's a dirty cheater. But he did seemingly, the president, acknowledge that Joe Biden is your president-elect. 306 electoral votes. What a landslide.
Landslide, Trudy. And well, as Trump and a lot of the narcissist types and the lying bastards, as it so happens, a lot of there's a little bit of truth in some of their lies, and that's how they kind of get along. There is a little bit of truth in that one. Of course, the big truth is Joe Biden won. And regardless of everything that you say after that is totally irrelevant. You lose her.
844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you're next. Welcome back, Iron Dick.
Hey, Dick.
Hey, guys. Before I get to Rudy, who I really want to talk about your callers, a couple quick things. Wisco Paul, a shout out to him. L.A. Tom, obviously. Well, where is Delusional Gary? And the only reason I bring that up is one time he called right after me and he goes, Dick sounds like a really nice guy, but he seems really mixed up. Well, he is right. I'm really mixed up. But here's a guy that said on the air to youth people that he wouldn't want the man in the same room with his wife or children, and he wouldn't do business with him, but he's going to vote for him. Okay. So I'm the mixed up one. Anyway.
Hey, who are you calling you people?
What do you mean by that?
One day we observed Gary in real time. We were on the air in Milwaukee, and we watched Gary climbing a ladder. And I didn't know if I was rooting for him or against him.
Right.
But Gary, does HVAC work and often is on a high ladder, and he is Gary. So let's hope
Dick,
it's not something tragic.
He got his feelings hurt by Crudy a while back, and he swore that he wasn't gonna call again. But you have a great point, and I'd love to hear some more Republicans, and maybe we need to reach out to some of the more established Republicans that will banter with us, because it seems like the righty's been kind of hiding under the rocks lately.
Real quick though, my main call is about Rudy. Rudy, was it Biden who said about him, describing him, a noun, a verb, and 9/11? I think it was. Now it's a noun, a verb, election fraud.
Well, it's a noun, a verb, a fifth of scotch in election fraud, maybe.
Election fraud. And not only that, one last thing about this whole situation with Rudy and the whole bit. Trump was right about one thing. The Secret Service will pay for this. Yeah, they sure are. And hopefully not in lives lost, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, about 10%.
Yeah, 130 Secret Service agents caught the COVID. That was the last round. It included the first infection round that we know of. And of course, it's Secret Service. So who knows if we really know it all. Thanks for the call, Dick.
Iron Dick.
No, Dick is fine.
We're all throwing the monikers around now.
Yeah, I don't want. No, I'll leave that to you, Crudy. I'll leave that to you.
Wasn't it Iron Mike Ditka?
Iron Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah. What was
Iron
Ditka?
Mike.
What was Ditka's nickname? Other than loser coach of the Bears. Have to ask Kutcha. Tweet it at me, Kutchka. At
Kutchka.
Devil Radio.
Yeah, what was Mike Ditka's nickname? What was his moniker, his street name? I don't know.
He's
but
a
he was
Trumpster, isn't he?
Of course he was.
He will forever, regardless of his Hall of Fame status as a player and his Super Bowl win as a coach. And, I don't like many people from Illinois or Chicago or those that have played on the respective sports teams. But, Mike Ditka, got to admire the guy, tough guy. But then you find out he's a Trumpster, and whatever modicum of respect I had for that former Bears coach, gone. It's all gone because he's a Trumpster. And that is, significantly worse than being a Bears fan.
Do you think you can be a Republican without being a Trumpster anymore?
Well, you would be a man without a party or a woman. I mean, you're like a person without a country.
Come on, didn't Trump pick up more Republican women
Party
than he did last time?
He picked up a lot more votes than he did last time, but he is the Republican Party. They got rid of the platform. It was just a pledge to adore Trump forever and never.
So there is no more. So there is no Republican. If you vote Republican, you're a Trumpster from here on out. There is no more leeway, no more forgiveness in any way, shape, or form. If you're an R, you're a T.
Donald Trump, ride or die, baby, ride or die. Come back with us, a fine author. His name, Ian Gervitz. Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. The 4 o'clock happy hour commences next.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business. Team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or
That's okay. How's that?
Is the go-to professional
Talk
and is
tomorrow.
expert in your
Good.
field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
Join me, Stephanie Miller, and the entire Sexy Liberal Resistance every morning from 8 to 11 for the Stephanie Miller Show right here on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Listen live Monday through Friday on Devil Radio, Wisconsin's home for progressive news talk radio.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. 2,000 coronavirus deaths have been reported in Iowa. Governor Kim Reynolds has been avoiding a mask mandate, but she has now imposed a partial state mask mandate.
We are really stressing our hospitals and their capacity, and so we have to dial up and we have to adjust accordingly.
The leader of the Democratic House Caucus, Hakeem Jeffries, mentioned President Trump said during the campaign the virus would go away after the election.
What is wrong with this guy? It has not gone away. It's gotten much worse.
Leaders of 3 major medical groups are warning the Trump administration must share critical pandemic information with President-elect Biden's transition team. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
In a letter to the White House, the heads of the American Hospital, Medical, and Nurses Association said the collaboration would save countless lives. They write the Biden team needs information as soon as possible on everything from hospital bed capacity and personal protective gear to plans for vaccine distribution, so it can plan. Biden himself said yesterday more people may die if his team does not get access to the Trump administration's plans for distributing vaccines once they're ready. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Starting January 15th, days before Inauguration Day, President Trump is reducing the number of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan to 2,500 each. Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller says they've talked to allies.
We went in together, we adjust together, and when the time is right, we will leave together.
Georgia's Secretary of State says a second county has uncovered votes not previously included in the election results, but it doesn't change the overall outcome of the presidential race. Joe Biden leads in Georgia. Worries about the pandemic had investors putting on the brakes after recent gains. Stocks finished lower, the Dow down 167 points. This is AP News.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fee. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
We did it. All across this nation, voters like you turned out in record numbers to elect Joe Biden. Now, it's time to come together to address the issue that matter most, tackling climate change, expanding access to healthcare, ensuring racial justice, and putting Americans back to work. Text ACT to 668366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Hold.moveon.org not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, We grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
Madison, tune in every weekday from 11 to 2 on Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM for the Tom Hartman program. Join the show's conversation because our democracy is not a spectator sport. Listen live right here on Devil Radio.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. The State Department of Corrections reported 808 new COVID-19 cases among inmates Monday, the highest single-day spike in cases in the state prison system since the start of the pandemic. The new infections bring the total of COVID-19 cases among inmates up to 6,977 and the active case count to 2,063, according to the DOC data dashboard. The Milwaukee Bucks have made 2 blockbuster deals with the Pelicans and Kings overnight ahead of the free agency window opening Friday and the looming negotiations with two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo to sign a Supermax contract with the team. The Bucks will acquire Drew Holiday from the New Orleans Pelicans and Bogdan Bogdanović from the Sacramento Kings. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Tuesday, 4 o'clock Central Time happy hour, and we welcome a fine guest live via Zoom. He is Ian Gervitz. He's the author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. Ian, welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, sir.
Thanks a lot. Nice to be here.
Thank you, sir.
I got to
How
tell
you guys doing?
I'm very well, and I've enjoyed reading excerpts of your book. I have not read it in its entirety, but I got to tell you, you turn a colorful phrase.
Yeah, well, you know, I get sick of screaming at my TV after a while, and then I start screaming at the computer. So it's got to go somewhere, so why waste it?
Now, Ian, you wrote a book immediately after the election of Donald Trump. We had a similar holy you-know-what reaction on air the day after the election in 2016. What was that book called? And I think it's sort of, what was that book called, sir?
Well, that was called Freak Out, which described my emotions at the time. It was Freak Out, the 2016 election, the dawn of the American democracy.
And so, Ian, what was the freak out? Was it the unexpected nature of the win? What was the freak out for you, sir?
Holy whatever, I cannot believe what is happening. I was sitting in my kitchen watching the results, and Steve Kornacki is at that board, and when he starts going, well, this county is, I don't know, it's like I curled up in a fetal position for the rest of the night. And after that day, I'd been writing for a website prior to that, so I was keeping track of the campaign as it unfolded. And so I had some stuff documented and looked back at that, and I had to put it somewhere. So I just started writing and put that out in 2017.
And Ian, I was just going to mention the Trump presidency has far exceeded any expectation I had for malfeasance, for terrible governance. Perhaps that was the inspiration of the new book.
Yeah, I had to put it somewhere. Going through the primaries, going through this election, looking at Trump and people saying, nah, don't worry, he'll never do that. And then he does that. So, I look back at 2016, and the fact is who he was apparent to anybody. So, but he got, Hillary got 66 million votes and he got 63 million votes. That means 63 million Americans looked at him and said, yeah, that's my guy. The inspiration for this one was as bad as the last 4 years has been to many, I would say most of us. And yet you look at the results and we're up to he's got about 73 million votes. That means 73 million Americans looked at everything that's happened up and through COVID and said, yeah, give me 4 more years of that.
Ian, my takeaway, or at least one of my takeaways from the parts of the book of yours, and it is entitled Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. You think that Trump is just sort of the symptom. If Trump's the symptom, what's the broader problem, sir?
Well, I wrote a book actually before that other one in 2016 called Welcome to, and there's an F-bomb in it. So it was called Welcome to Blankistan. And the premise was that, starting with Sarah Palin forward, we've actually legitimized stupidity in American politics. So it was my fear that that would be our undoing. And that's something I put out in 2016. And then when Trump came along, I watched and listened to everything he said, and still he moved on. And I blame partially the media for that, because 4 years ago, they put on every Trump rally in their entirety, start to finish, because it was great TV. And if you want to go back even further than that to 2010, 2011, he was trotting around the country with his birtherism, and legitimate networks and cable news outlets put him on the air. They gave the illegitimate a platform. That's what they did almost 10 years ago. That's what they did with Trump in 2016. They legitimized him. We didn't have to vote for him. It was very clear who and what he was. So that's why I put the subtitle of this book, We Screwed Ourselves, because we're in this together, like it or not. And, if anything was a lesson in the fact that we are stuck together, it's this damn virus, because it doesn't care who you are, where you're from, what party you belong to. It just will get you anyway. So for some reason, we can't seem to wrap our minds around the fact that our behavior is to protect ourselves and to protect other people, and so is theirs. So when there are lockdowns, when there are limits on what people can do, when they close bars early, that's for our mutual benefit. But yet he's put into the ether, into the public conversation, that my freedom is my right to go to a bar and sit there inside and cough anywhere I want, because I've got my freedom. Well, you may get your COVID at the same time. So the fact
we're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Ian Gervitz, author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. Sorry for jumping in there, Ian.
No, go.
But the concept, and I think it was before Sarah Palin. I know you said, we've kind of legitimized it. I think this is a dumbing down of America that's been going on for almost too long. I mean, for certainly, I think at least 40, 50 years, this, in my own personal humble opinion, Ian. I think, to my impression, some on the right see the acceptance or the ignorance as a sign of rebellion, as a sign of strength. You tell me what to do, I'm not going to do it, right? And I just think that equating those two things is really what part of the problem is. And to look at, a health department orders to come down to, try to mitigate some of the spread on this by wearing masks. Well, those on that side would say, well, that's an overbearing government on my freedoms, and I don't have to do that. So not only is it the legitimizing of the ignorance in this country, and it's funded by a billionaire, Ian. And I have to think that if it were not for the money that Donald Trump controls or backs him, whatever that thing is, and be it several $100 million or be it several $1 billion, as soon as you throw that into the equation, man, money changes people. It changes how they interact with people. It changes, what kind of doors it open. It changes how a media conglomerate might see someone as have the ability to bring in some great ratings. So it just seems like perhaps this is the culmination of the perfect storm. And now throw the COVID on top of it, looking at all those things combined. Honestly, I'm not shocked that we have not been able to get this thing under control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked. But the fact is, at any point in time, this guy had the power to do an FDR fireside chat and say, look, this is the disease. It doesn't care where you're from. We need to protect each other. Wearing a mask is not the government trying to tell you what to do. It's we who have these responsibilities trying to advise you on how best to protect your own life and the lives of your family, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers. But at the same time, it would have been the prudent thing to do to say, fine, you stay home. We'll keep you alive. We'll keep businesses going. We'll keep people going so that we can maybe hunker down for 2 months and let this thing fade away, best we can, or at least reduce the spread. I mean, I think at some point, Fauci said he had wanted us to be down to around 10,000 cases a day at this point. Not the case.
No, not even close. Ian, the title, Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. How can the people unscrew ourselves? Is there a happy ending, Ian? What would you suggest?
Well, I'm sort of limping my way to Inauguration Day. I want to see that happen first with my own 2 eyes. Until I see him take the oath of office, I will believe nothing. Let's assume for the moment that that's going to happen. He's bringing in adults back into the room, kick every one of these morons out of the Oval Office, fumigate the place, check for bugs, both physical and electronic, and then get to work. He hired Ron Klain right away, who's been through this. Biden has been through this. They need to get on top of the vaccine. They need to figure out how to distribute it. They need to also build public confidence, which Trump has knocked down, which is, almost the greatest shame of all, because you have to sell this to people. The government is not out to get you. The government is you. You put people in power to do what needs to be done, to spend your money the way it ought to be spent for our mutual benefit. But these people have poisoned government. What was it Bannon said? The deconstruction of the administrative state? And let's see if he can accomplish that from his jail cell.
Ian Gervitz, a fine author. I'm enjoying a lot of the sub-headlines. One of them I found, the bathroom cabinet, crooks, grifters, and swamp critters. You enumerate a number of them. It's not just Donald Trump. He hired all the best people, Ian, and he brought them to D.C. with him.
No, he brought the swamp along with him. He just found the worst people in the country. Like I said about the man himself, we found the worst person in the country and gave him the most important job on the planet. Hence the subtitle. We screwed ourselves. We voted for him. Fortunately, we squeaked out of it this time. But again, I will believe it when I see it. Even though today I think Rudy lost another one in Pennsylvania. So they're just swinging and missing, which is fine with me. If you're down to where Rudy Giuliani is your Lord and Savior, good luck.
Ian Gervitz, author, Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. It's a page turner. Where can people purchase that fine book?
On Amazon, paperback or Kindle, along with my other books. And everything's up there for the instant reading, or if you can wait for the paperback, do that and having something to put on your shelves.
Ian Gervitz, author, Death to America. Find it on Amazon. How We the People Screwed Ourselves. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates will reclamate this nation on the other side of this short break.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey.
I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy.
And Rocker Rye Whiskey is dedicated to the Madison music scene?
It sure is, Jimmy. You can read the story on the back of the bottle at any of these fine locations. Star Liquor, Woodman's, Trixie's Liquor, Vic Pierce, Miller & Sons in Verona, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, and enjoy Rocker Rye Whiskey at the Lazy Oaf Lounge and Sal's Dark Horse. Find out more at rockervodka.com. Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
Join me, Stephanie Miller, and the entire Sexy Liberal Resistance every morning from 8 to 11 for The Stephanie Miller Show right here on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Listen live Monday through Friday on Devil Radio, Wisconsin's home for progressive news talk radio.
The Devil's Advocates.
Doug from Cudahy.
Right around the time of the uprising, I found you. I started listening, and 2 years later, after I signed the recall and voted, we went out to sing along with the singers on my birthday. And they were so cool, and it's one of the greatest memories that I had. And ever since I started listening to the Devil's Advocates, I have been woke. I haven't missed one vote since. You guys have really done wonders for our community, and I'm just so happy you're on the air.
Making radio great again.
It could be. It might be. It is. Devil Radio 92.7.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take. You can join us at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, Ian Gervitz, author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. And unfortunately, I think Ian has a salty sense of humor that the FCC, unfortunately, the FCC regulated airwaves doesn't really lend itself. Some of the chapter titles, hilarious.
Lost in translation, perhaps, if you can't say, truly say the words.
A beep, beep here and a beep, beep there. But when he writes it on the page and you read it for yourself, I have great comedic timing. So when I read it, I'm thinking, that's gold, Jerry. Some funny stuff. Consider buying the book, Amazon.com. Again, Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. And a fine investigative journalist, author in his own regard, Greg Palast, you booked him for tomorrow. I believe that'll be the third time Greg came back to the show. He's a friend of the Devils now.
Now he is 3:30 tomorrow. He'll join us. Look forward to that. He was also took some issue with the Lindsey Graham action in Georgia.
And Joe Parisi, Dane County Executive, going to join me in the Happier Happy Hour starting at 5 o'clock. Joe Parisi has a new pandemic directive. Joe also newly announced re-election campaign. Dropped that presser this morning. I wanted to get Joe on anyways. I thought, now would be an excellent time.
Hey,
so
Joe's a good cat.
Yes, he is. Joe Parisi joins me at 5:05, the new extended edition of the Devil's Advocates radio show, 2 to 6 p.m. And I know the audience, it's only been a day, but word on the street is it's been tremendous. We are ratings machines, Dom.
It's amazing. We're doing things that nobody ever thought was possible. No one's seen the things that we've done.
And also, if you haven't heard it yet, because it's only been on for one day, please tune in at 6 o'clock this evening. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Alan Robinson, a new fine show right here on Devil Radio 92.7. Alan, he's prepping in the lobby right now as we speak. And then above and beyond that, we've got Busted Pencils, educated educators talking education. Dr. Tim Slecker going off at a new time, 7 o'clock till 8. You know, everyone's got a post-election edition, Dom.
Well, I can't wait for the post-inauguration edition of all these fine shows. Join us at 844-967-2789. Yesterday, Curdy, at your extended super happier hour, I sent you that text of some of the yahoos down at Serb Hall in Milwaukee.
You were obviously listening. You're a big fan.
I'm a huge fan, especially when I'm home at my study and have a drink in my hand and I don't have to react in real time. But I thought you covered it right. But I guess here's my point to that case. Again, some people threatening Department of Health Services workers apparently by email. So obviously there's going to be presumably some investigation. I mean,
there's an IP address somewhere with some right. Trumpster's name on it.
I would hope so. And I think we obviously need to get to the bottom of that. That being said, this discussion of the dumbing down of America, how America screwed ourselves. And, I wonder how much of that is impacted in this seemingly violent reaction to public health workers, and I for the conservatives who have such an issue with quote unquote socialism, who, in everyday portions of their lives are benefiting from that very socialism they would criticize. That being said, we can define that and get into the details on that. We've done that many times on the show, from the roads to the sewers, etc. Police, fire, go on from there. But what is it about the conservatives and the Trumpsters that have such an issue with their, what I would perceive to be their misunderstanding, their ignorance of socialism, quote unquote, but then they're so apt to respond like a bell to the authoritarianism of guys like Donald Trump?
They're anti-fascist, Tom.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. And my only I guess what it comes down to, in my perception, and I'd love to hear some conservative callers out there. We've kind of lost some of those over the last.
Yeah, where'd you go, Gary?
So, is that the ignorance? I don't know. Ignorance is the lack of understanding. Let's call it. I mean, you can be ignorant of something. If you want to learn something, we have this availability now to go and find all the information that you want. Most of it probably true. Check your sources, but with the click of a button, you can find out damn near anything. It's an amazing time to be alive, and with that comes responsibility. So presumably, if people have a thought about how something is or how they define it, well, they can double check it. You know what I'm saying? If you think you know what something means and it may be up for interpretation, well, you can go and find out what the actual terminology means. That's why we have definitions. That's how language and communication works. We have a basis of understanding of what words mean. And so for the conservatives to not embrace the ability to go and find all the information you want and apply that to their knowledge to gain wisdom, well, that then becomes willful. And I just wonder if it's all about the rebellion of nobody can tell me what to do. And I got a little bit of that in me, so I'm not knocking that per se. But certainly at some point, you have to look around if people are dropping like flies around you, and you can alter your behavior ever so slightly to perhaps save a couple of lives. And it's a short-term issue. This isn't government creep. Why would you not embrace that instead of embracing the ignorance?
Well, I've always thought of you as an anti-intellectual, Dom.
I never claimed to be.
What's that? Anti-intellectual or anti-intellectual?
Come on, man. I love every day I learn a little bit more, and that's the beautiful thing about life. And I hope people would want to do that.
Well, I'm glad I can educate you in real time on the radio.
Is that what you're doing?
Talking about socialism, I'm over here on the Wankers Twitter stream. Scotty Wanker. his tweet 21 hours ago. Resist socialism. Persist for freedom. Well, the freedom is the tearing down of the wall, and the socialism is apparently a couple of guys wearing black, Antifa-style socialism. But didn't Donald Trump want to build that wall? Come back with us. More Walker bashing on the other side.
WTTN 1580 AM News Talk Radio, built for the 99%, is rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast? Just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say. Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Biden won because of you, because you stayed in line to vote even when you got tired, because you knew that your vote is power, because you understood what was at stake, and because you showed up, we now have the power. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Trump to work with Biden. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, a Republican, says President Trump's administration has to work with President-elect Joe Biden's transition team to prevent more unnecessary COVID-19 deaths.
We're in the middle of this battle with people dying and hospitals overflowing in every state in the country. And we have to make sure that there's a smooth handoff.
The Trump administration's refusal to recognize Biden's victory could have long-term consequences for the incoming president's agenda, particularly in responding to the pandemic. A study by the Nonpartisan Partnership for Public Service found further delays could impede Biden's ability to make timely appointments to key COVID-19 and national security positions, weakening the government's ability to protect our nation. Top medical groups have written Trump asking him to share COVID-19 information with Biden to save countless lives. I'm Tim McGuire.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fees. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. Wisconsin reported 4,389 new COVID-19 cases Monday as the number of people with active infections topped 70,000. Mondays typically turn out the lowest numbers of the week as fewer tests are conducted and processed over the weekend. Still, the batch of nearly 4,400 new cases marks the highest Monday case count ever. Wisconsin's COVID-19 response plan landed Monday back in the hands of a divided and skeptical state Supreme Court. The justices heard arguments in the latest case virtually, a practice they have followed for months to try to limit the spread of the virus. They have put the case on the fast track and are expected to issue a decision soon. Forecast of mostly sunny skies today, high of 40 degrees, low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the 4 o'clock happy hour. It continues, the Tuesday edition, And now it's time for a little wanker bashing.
It's been too long.
You know, if there's something we excel at, it's bashing on former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, because he so deserves it.
Well, and he makes it so easy for us.
Dominic, he tweeted out a squinty-eyed picture of himself. I got to admit, the hair looking better in this one. The COVID, the grow out, a little better, you know, covering the bald spot and all that kind of stuff. The cabinet injury.
Is he doing the Donald Trump hair?
Well, the hair less important than the wardrobe.
Oh, here we go again.
In this case, Scotty Wanker sporting the Ronald Reagan Rambo style t-shirt, and it's Ronald Reagan's face on, you know, a muscled body. Think of me with the Constitution tattooed upon his chest, sleeveless, you know, wife beater style. And then he's got a bandana on with the American flag, and he's sort of got a crooked grin like Scotty Wanker does, showing off one of my favorite shirts at the Reagan Ranch. He's wearing a Ronald Reagan Rancho del Solio
not again
t-shirt.
Oh, no.
And it is quite embarrassing. And I would point out the dumbing down of America. Well, Scott Walker, when he was the governor of the state of Wisconsin, he certainly continued that, the anti-intellectualism. Hell, he tried to take the Wisconsin idea out of the Constitution?
No, he said that was a error. That was a mistake. You know, staffer, you know, someone did something. They didn't mean to do that.
You want to know who dumbed down America? It was Ronald Reagan. That's when it all started. And my mom warned me, Grandma Dorothy, as I now describe her to my kids, the long departed Grandma Dorothy, knew that Ronald Reagan was bad news for this country. And Ronald Reagan seemed like an optimist, right? I mean, that was the part he played on the television.
I was 9 years old in 1980. Man, I remember Reagan. He was like grandfatherly type figure. Man, he got elected, and those evil Iranians, they released all of our hostages. So he was a hero right off the bat. And it's easy when you're 9. But, you know, you can read now. That's not exactly how it went down.
Oh, I always sensed that Reagan was up to no good. And truly, Ronald Reagan wrecked America and put us on this course that we're on now. And it only continued with the addition of people like, what's her face, Miss Wasilla, the Alaskan half-term governor. Yeah, Sarah Palin, when she was added to the presidential ticket of John McCain. And I know in after his death, everyone but Trump gives him lots of respect, the old rogue. Well, I blame John McCain. That was the move of a desperate candidate. And putting Sarah Palin on the ticket diminished John McCain forevermore in my memory. And the fact that they thought that this was the right ticket. You know, she's pretty dumb, but pretty. And that's all it takes for a Republican. You know, Kristi Noem, very pretty governor of the state of South Dakota, I guess it is. You know, they're expecting big things from her because she's pretty like a Fox News girl. Not so smart, not great at governance, been misleading the people the whole time she's been the governor, much like Scott Walker did. You know, no one ever accused him of being pretty. And just like Ronald Reagan did. And the American people have been raised on this fantasy, on this fictionalized version of American exceptionalism. And as you talked about, Dom, well, you didn't notice at the time as a 9-year-old, but Ronald Reagan was what? Negotiating with the terrorists, negotiating with the hostage takers.
Yes.
Don't release him till after I win. Don't release him till I'm inaugurated the president. Above and beyond that, the Iran-Contra, the trading of what? Arms for cocaine.
Trading, selling of missiles for like $30 million so they could fund an illegal war that, you know, when Reagan lost the midterms, the Dems put the kibosh on that kind of activity down in South America. So they got a workaround, right? Well, we'll just sell some arms to Iran during an arms embargo. We'll take the cash and we'll fund our private war.
Well, reinvest, Tom. Reinvest. Yeah. It's the American way.
And he didn't mean to do that, and in his heart he knows that he didn't, but he really did. I mean, no, of course, and it's those things, they're fantasies. You know, for a guy like Scott Walker to wear, and I find it's really strange. You know, anytime you put someone's face on a body that isn't obviously them, and I've seen some of the Trumpsters do this. You know, a truck with Donald Trump and his arms folded, and he's got, you know, huge forearms. He looks like he's in great shape. You know, I've never seen the man wear I guess he does wear a pullover when he golfs, but I mean, the man does not have muscular arms. So anytime,
like the caricatures they use on Monday Night Football now to represent NFL players.
Yeah, exactly. Very muscular. It's just strange to me. It seems like a cult of personality. Seems very propaganda-y to me to put this hero status on some obviously failed men. And Ronald Reagan was one of the biggest lies. And for him to do the things that he did behind the scenes, lie about it, I mean, very few people went to jail. Very few people got in trouble.
Well, thanks to Bill Barr.
Thanks to Bill Barr, right.
Dominic, is it possible that this Republican Party has daddy issues? Like their dads. I'm thinking of Trump specifically, but really on down the line, their dads did not love them sufficiently.
I don't know about daddy issues. Certainly patriarchal, if that's the proper pronunciation.
Why do they need a bossy
authoritarianism? And certainly the religious thing. I don't say this.
That's also a daddy issue thing.
But the you know, this higher power thing, and you can be absolved of everything you do wrong if you just ask for forgiveness. Well, that sure seemingly leaves open a whole lot of things, and you can consider yourself religious and do terrible, terrible things, and in your mind you are absolved of them. And I don't buy any of that. Of course I don't. But what is it about what is it about the deeply religious right in this country that are so enamored with the authoritarianism of Donald Trump? I mean, how do those things go together? Donald Trump is an angry God?
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, Tom.
That seems like
it's very patriarchal. The Bible is a fairly male-dominated text. And the evangelical Christians definitely, at least to my personal experience, and I went to a Baptist church, but to my personal experience, the evangelicals, and I'm sure there are some good people on both sides of the aisle, but the evangelicals, they follow the wrathful God of the Bible, and they want to punish the man that would lay with the man and, you know, ignore those that would eat the shellfish and mix the linens with the cloth.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. They don't even follow their own book. They don't even know what's in the book. I mean, if you grab any of these Trump people at a Trump rally and ask them differences between socialism and communism, authoritarianism and fascism.
I think Joe Biden's a communist and Donald Trump's a capitalist.
Yeah. I'm not clear they could give a definition for any of those things, let alone articulate specific policies that they would categorize into those areas. And I think that's a problem. And that comes to the general point of having a conversation. Of course, we're going to have discord and disagreements in this country. That's going to be natural. But if you can't even agree on what a word means, man, I mean, we are really digging the bottom of the barrel here to try to move this country forward.
I'm not clear how we move this country forward, and I don't mean to be a pessimist. I usually leave that role to you.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm not quite well. I'm not clear how we move this country forward if people are so opposed to science and facts. And hell, even the Republicans are attacking math now, at least electoral math. If you cannot believe facts are facts, or math is math, or science is science, and certainly, you know, the victors get to write the history books, Tom. Well, I'm not sure what precisely would pull this nation together. And you could have said, well, you know, what this nation really needs is a good pandemic. What have brought us together as an American people, this crisis, this shared commonality, all looking out for our neighbors. You know, be it because of your Judeo-Christian inclination or just because they're your neighbors. But we don't give a damn about our neighbors. We politicized our neighbors. It's better to hate on your neighbor because he's either wearing a mask or he's not wearing a mask. And either way, you know, you see their true colors by whether or not they give a damn about their neighbors or not. And I thought Christians cared a lot about their neighbors. I thought the Christians, at least those I saw, there's always plenty of food at the potluck on Sunday. And I thought they would send home the leftovers with, those that look the hungriest. Guys like me and Fancy Brian.
You don't look too hungry, Curdy.
Well, not
but
so much
okay, so
anymore.
your experience was that they like their neighbors, right?
My experience
but
was
that was all with other
vast
Christians hanging out with them, right? You saw in that, if you're talking about the potluck at the the basement of the church, well, that's all the other churchgoers, man.
Well, I wasn't privy to their confessionals, Dom.
But you're talking about the same population and getting along with the same population. How do those folks get along with an atheist, let's say? Someone from Islam.
I
Hindu.
still remember in the 1990s, I went to a Bible study for adult men. And it seemed like an excuse just for dudes to get away from their wives for the weekend. But, I was also seeking that excuse. So I agreed to go with an overnighter. And it was sort of on this farmish kind of thing. And, there's like Bible studies in the barn. And I was looking for the bar all over the place. Couldn't find the bar.
Bible study. So what do you do? So you grab like verses from the Bible and you just read them out loud and discuss it. I mean, I'm not clear what that means.
Yes, that's
okay.
The general gist of a Bible study. I realize you've been unexcused absence from the Sunday Bible study since we've been in business together. But ultimately,
to be clear on what we're talking about.
I remember sitting down at a cafeteria style dinner thing. And, just for the record, I never voted for Bill Clinton. Now, it was back when you got the sense of the electorate, and I didn't need to vote for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got elected twice with or without my vote. But that just tells you how unengaged I was once upon a time in my own political and civic duties. Like, I don't even have to vote for Clinton. But I served in the military. I signed up under H.W. Bush. And therefore, I served in the military for most of my term in the reserves under Bill Clinton. And I remember being at this Bible study at this cafeteria style dinner. And the people were just, the men were sitting around just, the immorality of Bill Clinton. I just remember that. It was, he's so terrible. He's immoral. And I'm like, how spoiled are we? That the biggest gripe we have is whether or not the president of the United States was faithful or not to his wife. The peace and prosperity, man, those were tough. That's what I said. I was sort of snarky, me. I had to fire back at these guys. I said, I served in the military. How many of you guys did? Not a lot of hands. I said, I remember the peace and prosperity of the last 8 years. What do you remember? Monica. That's all they cared about. Monica. These evangelicals, and every so often you'd go to church and some couple would be missing and you'd find out they're going through some marital problems, some infidelity, let's say, just like Bill Clinton and Monica. And it would always be forgiven. It's the church family. And, Bob over there's, the devil has tempted him and he's turned on his good woman and, he's moved off. In fact, if I recall correctly, the pastor's wife abandoned, let me restate. The pastor's brother abandoned his respective wife, and he was also a pastor in his own right, but left his wife for another woman. Lost some weight, got in shape.
Wow, I never heard of that happening before.
And the woman happened to be one of the congregants.
Of course.
But of course, Newt Gingrich and the whole crew, right? Newt was sprung of the Reagan Revolution. Republicans won the House for the first time. They made a pledge to America, right? 1994.
Contract with
like
America,
that.
baby.
And then they went off and impeached Bill Clinton for his infidelity. The very same man that was cheating on his third wife with his soon-to-be fourth wife was now the ambassador to the Vatican under the current president, Donald Trump.
The Vatican. Oh, my God.
The man who's got 3 baby mamas and 5 randoms. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. God bless us all. It's Tuesday. 844-967-2789. Phone lines open for your take.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
At Chad's Design Build, we have always been uncompromising about creating a safe and healthy home during your renovation and after. As we pause to allow our community to confront this crisis, we remain vigilant and determined to find a safe way to resume the essential work of maintaining and improving homes in our community. With love for each other, we'll find a way to carry on. We wish you all good health, strength, and wisdom on behalf of the entire team at Chad's Design Build. This is Chad Spade.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
Hey folks, Jimmy K here from Hotel K Pet Sitting and Dog Walking. Hotel K is your pet's new best friend, offering dog walks, cat care visits, and professional house sitting in the greater Madison area. Our pet sitters are experienced, dependable, and offer you peace of mind while you're away. Schedule now at freebellyrubs.com. Freebellyrubs.com. Hotel K Pet Sitting and Dog Walking. Freebellyrubs.com.
Talk radio made for the 99% on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. 844-967-2789. Last segment with Dom. Crew's going to take you home with Dane County Executive Joe Parisi starting at the second happier happy hour at 5 o'clock. In the meantime, Crudy, this conversation, it's hard for me not to think that the whole religious thing is a scam. And, I think that because I'm an atheist, but when you see so evident, it's so evident when a guy like Donald Trump, who blasts through people peacefully exercising their constitutional rights in a park with grenades or stun grenades and rubber bullets and tear gas to go, hold a Bible upside down in front of a church. A guy like Donald Trump, who the evangelicals have fully embraced, who, when asked what his favorite Bible verse or whatever was, he couldn't say it. Oh, it's very private to me. Well, of course it is, because you don't know, because you don't read it. I don't believe any of it. And the continual lifting up of this man, I don't see how this goes with the traditional quote unquote Republican, Christian conservative voter. I mean, Donald Trump is
chose Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump says that. And we have even conservative Gary say, well, if anyone has said that, if someone says I am the chosen one, they're probably insane. And, well, that's what Trump says. I am the chosen one. So it's all a game, right? It's all a ruse for Donald Trump to hold a Bible and not even claim. When's the last time you heard Donald Trump say a Bible verse or saw him walk into a church or do anything that the general religious type of people would do? I've never, ever seen him do those things.
Are you saying he's a false prophet, Tom?
There is no prophet, but yes, he's false. He claims to be. He said he was the chosen one. I mean, what kind of crazy ass narcissist would stand up and say, I am chosen by God to do X, Y, or Z? That is insanity to me. And that's a huge problem. And I don't want to harp on the religious aspect of it, but I think if you claim to be a religious person and then you look to a guy like Donald Trump with all of his obvious failings, and granted, we're all sinners, right? And think that this is the guy that's going to bring you to salvation? It's hard for me to comprehend that.
Dom, we're all sinners, but some of us are better at it than others of us. 844-967-2789. Justin from DeForest, welcome to the party. What do you got for us?
Hey, Justin.
Hey, guys. First time caller. been listening to you guys' show for quite a while.
Well, right on. Appreciate
I
you
just
joining
wanted
us,
to-
man.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in and maybe reach out to your listeners, and you guys are talking about how your neighbors not wearing masks and not complying, and I've been seeing people post online about their rights being taken away and everything. It's like, my personal opinion of all this in the pandemic is, eventually it's kind of dark, but eventually I think pretty much everyone's going to get sick or know someone who's going to get sick. And it's like the hospitals are almost overrun right now in Wisconsin. And it's like, do your due diligence and, protect yourself. And if not for your neighbor, do it for, the hospital staff.
Justin, do you feel like when there are enough Republicans that do have family members that get COVID-19 and have bad outcomes, do you think that will affect their attitude about mask wearing, about whether or not this is some tyrannical plan hatched up in Tony Evers' basement? Do you think if it happens to them, then they might feel some empathy and compassion for others?
Maybe. I mean, I'd hate to say it's all political, but it sooner or another, or do it for your neighbor's kids. If we all get sick at once, no one's going to be able to take care of each other. I guess that's my opinion, and I don't know. That's about it.
Appreciate your call, Justin. Thank you for listening.
Man.
Maybe Jesus will heal them all like the lepers. They have the blood of Christ protecting them from the COVID, Dom.
Is that what it's going to be? 844-967-2789. We've got some callers. We'll get through the screener here real quick, and then we will take them. Appreciate the call, Justin. Always love to hear from all our new callers. And if you have not checked us out, make sure you do so. You love this program. You love the Devil's Advocates. Go to the Patreon account. Yes, we are on Patreon. You can support Dom and Crute. Look us up, the Devil's Advocates, patreon.com. What are we making? We make the greatest radio show ever. 844-967-2789. Drew from Lake Mills, you are next. Welcome.
And dreams come true.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Drew.
Dom. Hey, Dom. I'm so glad everything you just said in the past 15 minutes is exactly what me, my wife, my family have been thinking all along. Like, we don't get it. And, I recently relocated, moved to Lake Mills, and there's a guy down the street from me who has still waving a Trump flag. But the Trump flag, this is very interesting, and this is this is where I just don't see any connection. It's a picture of like Rambo from the 80s movies, right, with the muscles, and he's holding the real, not the M16, but the larger like Rambo
the M60,
gun.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's got Trump's head on it with the bandana and everything. And I'm going, you understand that this guy's a draft dodger, has never served in the military, and doesn't even know how to hold a gun. And so I don't understand where this comes from.
They drew first blood.
Right?
Drew.
So that's the ridiculousness of this whole thing. Is people make this clown out to be somebody who is completely opposite of who he actually is, and I don't get it.
Well, Drew, we appreciate you listening.
Thanks, man.
Admire the chubby, petulant, supposed billionaire. What did he promise us at the Iowa Freedom Caucus, Dom? He's worth $10 billion.
You'll be really proud. You'll be really, really proud. Made a lot of money.
I'm so rich.
proud.
I'm so rich. You'll be so proud of me. And the audience there that day, primarily Christian evangelicals. And I'm thinking to myself, what is the appeal of this man? But then again, Scott Walker had him eaten out of his hand just by rolling up his sleeves and walking around a podium.
See? I guess here it is. Generally, it's the money. It's money. He's a billionaire. Oh, they love billionaires. They can't even hold their crap when they're around guys like Donald Trump because he's got so much money. Maybe that money will rub off on me. Maybe some of the influence will rub off on me. Maybe some of the power will rub off on me.
God's chosen one because he's rich.
Isn't that what some of them say? If you're rich,
Well,
you're blessed
maybe if
by
you go
God.
to-
If you're poor, you're cursed, I guess.
Maybe if you go to Joel Olstein's church.
Or
Thank you,
maybe
Dom!
you happen to be the son of a multimillionaire who inherited that wealth.
Or stole it from the old man.
Or didn't pay taxes.
Thank you, Ian Gerbitz, author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves. Yeah, we're screwed. Stick around. The Happier Happy Hour with Joe Parisi, Dean County Executive, Sans Dominic, just me, coming back.
Jimmy, it's the day after the election and the president wants to cancel Max Inc. Radio for Christmas music.
He can't do that, Rocker. We have the devil on our side.
All new Max Inc. Radio, Saturday 6 to midnight. New features like live music, local artists and interviews with plenty of throwbacks. Chat with Jimmy K and Rocker using the Max Inc. Radio chat room. Or call the studio live and make a request. It's all new Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
You can't kill local music, Rocker. Call him back and tell him he's fired.
Once a client has a personal injury and they contact us, we sit down with them as early as possible to ascertain not only how the injury happened and all the facts of the accident, but also how the injury is going to affect their life in the long run.
The attorneys at Lawton and Cates. It's who you turn to for legal advice. 282-6200 or lawtoncates.com.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience. The only choice, Lawton and Cates.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. The Trump administration is bringing home U.S. troops from Afghanistan 5 days before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration.
The president has long pushed to end America's wars in the Middle East. New acting Pentagon Chief Chris Miller says some 3,000 troops will come home by January 15th, leaving about 2,500 in Iraq and the same in Afghanistan, though he says the U.S. will be ready to take on what he calls forces of terror if needed.
We stand ready to apply the capabilities required to thwart them.
Miller notably did not say if senior military officers recommended or even endorsed the drawdown plan. Commanders have argued against speeding up the withdrawal, and it's also being bashed by top Republicans like Senate GOP Chief Mitch McConnell.
I think a precipitous drawdown in either Afghanistan or Iraq would be a mistake.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
Trump's refusal to cooperate with Biden's transition could create greater problems in the fight against the pandemic and national security. The president-elect met virtually today with national security experts.
You know that I've been unable to get the briefings that ordinarily would have come by now. So I just want to get your input on what you see ahead.
The leaders of national health groups have written Trump saying he needs to share with Biden's transition team information on crucial medical supplies and medications, how much is being held in the Strategic National Stockpile, Operation Warp Speed, and plans to get therapeutics and vaccines to hundreds of millions of people. The Trump campaign continues to file suits in an effort to block the certification of the various state election results. The latest in Nevada. Georgia election officials found another 2,700 uncounted ballots on a memory card as part of the state's audit and hand count. This is AP News.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fee. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or segment, setting you apart as the go-to professional and as an expert in your field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
America has chosen Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to lead our country. Now it's time to get to work. Time to expand healthcare and tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Time to restore our democracy and unify our nation. It's time to put this administration to work for us. Text ACT to 668-366 to join the Move On movement to build an America for all. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey folks, Patrick here from Pegasus Games, here to remind you that we're open for all your at-home gaming needs, both online at pegasusgames.com or in-store from noon to 6, with extended hours on Saturday and Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon for high-risk customers. From our new line of puzzles to pass the time, to the perfect board game to reconnect with family and friends. Walk-ins welcome or curbside pickup available over the phone or online at pegasusgames.com. Pegasus Games, home to games you never outgrow.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. The Republican Majority Leader of the State Assembly is pushing back against conspiracy theories and misinformation about the presidential election in Wisconsin, but says he favors a legislative investigation into the 2020 vote. Representative Jim Steineke appeared on WPR earlier this week, where he downplayed claims of widespread voter fraud and said a lawsuit brought on behalf of Republican President Donald Trump in Wisconsin had no merit. But he also said the Assembly's election committee should take a look at things. The Milwaukee Health Department received a threat after health inspectors attempted to enforce the city's order aimed at combating the spread of COVID-19 during a Saturday rally outside Serp Hall held by supporters of President Donald Trump. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, sliding into the happier 5 o'clock happy hour. And I'm happy to announce, got a fine guest right from the top, live via phone. He is Joe Parisi, Dane County Executive. We welcome Joe back to the Devil's Advocates. Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, guys.
Excellent, Joe. Thank you for joining me. Relatively short notice. I guess I gave you a couple hours, sir. Joe, let's start from the top. What I think is most important, the audience most wants to know, what is the current COVID directive here in Dane County?
So the directive we announced today, which will go into effect on midnight tonight, keeps everything in place that we've had. For example, the mask mandate, 25% capacity in restaurants. But what we do is we tighten up on the gatherings that are allowed. For the next 28 days, which is 2 cycles of incubation cycles of the COVID virus, there are no indoor gatherings allowed. And what we mean by that is gatherings are parties, people coming together, having folks over in your house from a different household. That is temporarily not allowed. And any outdoor gatherings are limited to no more than 10 people, and folks must be socially distanced. We know this is challenging. We know this is hard on folks, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, and the fact that we've all been dealing with this for month after month. But we're at a crisis stage right now, in our community and across the state. We're averaging in Dane County over 450 positive cases a day. And as people have probably heard, our hospitals are bursting at the seams, especially our intensive care units. So we're in a real precarious position. And what we've done is drilled down into the data. Everything that we do is based on public health guidance and science, and looking at where the spread is coming from. And what has emerged over the past several weeks is that people gathering are spreading the virus. And unfortunately, sometimes people think, well, if it's someone from my family or a friend and they come over, it's safe. But it's not. And one of the things we're seeing also is people are getting the virus, and then it's also making its way into more vulnerable populations. For example, we've had clusters in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. So we're really concerned right now. A lot of people are very ill. People are dying literally every day in Dane County, which wasn't the case before in our hospitals. And so we took this step today. So we hope we can at least get a handle on this, and really need everyone to do everything they can to adhere to this guideline, so we can make it through this next few months, because it's going to be challenging. The good news is, of course, we've heard great news about about vaccines that are on the horizon, but we need to get to point A and point B, and the time between that is going to be very challenging for us.
Dane County Executive Joe Parisi, I think I just heard you cancel Thanksgiving, sir. There's going to be pushback from the Republicans. They've utilized the courts. They've made a big scene on social media, and obviously they've had large gatherings. Joe, how do you defend this when it is the holidays and you're going to get blowback from Republicans?
Yeah, this this is the job I signed up for, right? I mean, in a position like I hold, one has to make very difficult decisions, and certainly during a pandemic, those decisions become even more difficult. And when you make those decisions, by definition, there are going to be some people who are upset by them. I mean, look, I get it. I mean, I am as sick of this pandemic as anyone, and I wish I could gather with family and friends, not only during Thanksgiving, but at other times. But it's just too risky now. And this is going to be the year when we're asking people to tell their loved ones over Zoom. And then next year, odds are all those loved ones will still be healthy and alive and be able to get together with you again. But this is a time when we all have to sacrifice. I remember my parents, when they were alive, they grew up during the Great Depression in World War II. And they would talk about the sacrifices that they made, and how those sacrifices shaped them. And this is a generational moment like that. And our sacrifices look different than theirs, but they are things that we really need to do. We really need to pull together to watch out for one another.
Joe Parisi, what has this pandemic done to the Dane County budget? State and federal resources, are they trickling down here on a county level? Where do we stand?
Yeah, so our budget this year was quite challenging, as one may expect. We saw a decrease of probably, at least $12 million in sales tax revenue this year, and we'll probably see something similar next year. Early on in the pandemic, when the first CARES Act was passed, that did provide dollars that allowed us to provide some very much needed relief that we funneled into the community. We were able to invest $10 million into eviction prevention to keep people in their homes and in their apartments. $11 million to local small businesses to help keep their doors open, millions in dollars to child care centers to help them remain solvent. And we're spending about $1 million a month in a partnership that we're funding between Second Harvest Food Bank and local farmers and growers to help meet the excess demand there is for just basic food right now. We also have about 400 formerly homeless people and families in hotels to help them be safe and socially distanced. So that's where those federal dollars came in. Now the challenge is that they've run out. And so we need that second round of CARES funding. It's just critical. There's so many businesses that need our help now. I see, today the Harmony Bar put out a GoFundMe page. It's just a wonderful place in a wonderful neighborhood that's helped a lot of people. And so we really need some help to help our businesses and our people survive these next few months. Now, on the county budget side, we did take a hit, but our number one priority for the budget that just passed was the realization that we weren't going to be able to have new initiatives, but we did everything we could to save what we have. And I'm really glad that we were able to do that, in part because we've spent the last number of years building up a rainy day fund that when I took office 10 years ago was literally at minus $6 million was our general fund budget. And today it stands at over 50 million because of our, what I consider responsible budgeting. So we hit the rainy day fund for $15 million for the 2021 budget because it's raining. And we don't want to cut services at a time when people need them. So we were able to pass what I think was a good budget that preserved all the services that we have. And even we were able to put a little money into some new initiatives that are very much needed in the community.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine guest live via phone. He is Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. Joe, appreciate you coming around. What about testing and tracing here in Dane County? Joe, I have gone through the COVID test and fortunately tested negative when it was at the Alliant Energy Center. Are there still testing resources, and are the tracers able to keep up here in Dane County, Joe?
Yeah, so we should be able to keep the testing going. It's a top priority, and today, for example, was a record day at the county facility. 3,700 people were tested today, and so when you think of that number, it's rather amazing. And the daily, up to that many people are going through, and the people that work there are just rock stars. And the challenge we're facing, however, which you alluded to, is that we reached a point a couple of weeks ago where we are at the saturation point and have not been able to keep up with contact tracing. So what that is when you get a positive result, we have a couple of hundred people, literally, who are contact tracers who will reach out to you and interview you about, could you tell us where you've been? Could you tell us, folks you've been in contact with for a long enough period that they may have contracted the virus? And then we notify all those folks that they may have been exposed. And that helps us contain the virus and let people know that they should go get a test. And it also helps us trace where the virus is being spread. That's how we know, how much is coming from households and how much from, a business or that sort of thing. But the challenge is now we can only do so much of that every day because of the enormous numbers of cases. Our 7-day rolling average for positive cases in Dane County was up over 450 people a day. That is just crazy, the number of positives that are out there. So we're doing our best to keep up. We're working with the state. The university is opening up some additional testing centers, so we're really grateful for that. They're increasing their capacity. We're doing everything we can, but this brings us back to why we've had to even tighten the orders even more and ask people to restrict their movements because the system is just overwhelmed, both testing, tracing, and most frighteningly, the healthcare system.
Dane County Executive Joe Parisi for just a few more minutes. Joe, I hate to turn this conversation political, but you've got a re-elective campaign. You launched today, and the Dane County executive election will be in April of 2021. Joe, why would you want that job in the midst of a pandemic?
Well, that's exactly why I want to keep on doing it. I was born and raised and grew up in Dane County. I raised my kids here. This is home, and I love this community. And the reason I do this job and do what I do is because I want to make a difference in people's lives. And this job affords me the opportunity to do that every day. And, I can't think of a more critical time to have someone leading Dane County that has a grasp on leadership and knows, how to pull the levers and turn the wheels and maneuver through a challenge like we're facing now. And I think I've done, a good job of doing so. It's certainly been challenging. And I hope to get an opportunity to continue leading us through this.
Dane County Executive Joe Parisi recently announcing his re-election campaign. Good luck to you, Joe. Appreciate you coming around on the Devil's Advocates today.
Good to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Thank you, Joe. You on the phones as well. If you dial us right now, 844-967-2789.
There's one girl that I know I'm never gonna pass. She is my special. She is my special. She is my...
So, Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate agents tree huggers?
Crew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yep, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike. And if I have an appointment across town, I use my Prius.
Darcy Haber, an honest broker. Check out solidarityrealty.com or call her at 358-6180.
The Lazy Oaf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
Hey, Dom, is your carpeting starting to have a little bit of a funk to it?
That's a bit of a personal question, Crudy.
No, I know this is really busy time for one of our sponsors, Zero Res of Madison. People want a cleaner, healthier home.
You mean spending the entire quarantine locked in with bacteria and allergens isn't healthy? Who knew?
You want to get it professionally cleaned well before it gets funky. Even if you vacuum frequently,
I vacuum a lot.
You still need to get it professionally cleaned. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Thanks for the job you do. It sure showed in the Supreme Court.
But I just want to thank you guys for your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't get enough credit for this. We've never had a voice ever in this state. So I think you guys really need to take a bow.
Thanks again for your work. It's really important. You need these guys. They're there for all of us.
You're welcome, everybody, and thank you. A progressive voice in rural Wisconsin, WTTN 1580 AM is South Central Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Welcome back to Tuesday, 5 o'clock, happy hour. Want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, Joe Parisi, Dane County Executive. He has announced his campaign for re-election. That will be on the ballot. I believe that's April of 2021. Consider voting for him. So far, uncontested, but someone might throw their hat in the ring. Once again, thank you, Joe Parisi. Don't forget, on tomorrow's Big Devil's Advocate show, Greg Palast, 3:30 Central Time. You'll want to tune in. Now going 4 hours each and every day. Got Jimmy K on the board with me this afternoon. Thank you, Jimmy K. Wanted to throw out a couple of the statistics. Dane County, 22,848 positive coronavirus cases. Overnight, one day, addition, 502 new cases in Dane County. And that's a big number relative to many parts of the state. It's a bigger number as a county number than any other region except for Milwaukee County. They had 619 overnight. Now, Dane County has experienced 63 deaths, again, on about 23,000 COVID-19 positives. But here's the part I don't get. The mortality rates. I want to compare Dane County with a few other counties, prominent counties here in the state. Dane County, 63 deaths. Milwaukee County, 652. The mortality rate about 10 times as great in Milwaukee County on less than 3 times as many COVID-19 positives. So about 60,000 in Milwaukee County, 23,000 in Dane County, but 10 times as many dead from COVID-19. Waukesha County, again, look at the numbers, or let me tell you about them. 20,600 Waukesha positives, about 288 additional overnight. But Waukesha County has 167 deceased relative to COVID-19. Again, Dane County, 63,000, let me restate, 63 dead on 23,000 positive cases. So why point out Waukesha, less total COVID positives and something approaching 3 times as many dead. Brown County, also very interesting. If, looking at deceased stats is interesting to you. Brown County, again, 20,300 cases, plus 24 overnight, but 123 dead in Brown County. Again, that's nearly double the numbers of Dane County. And I'm not sure why that is. Outagamie County, 100 dead. Again, Dane County, 63 dead. They've got about half as many cases and a higher mortality rate. And nationally, the breaking headline here in the 5 o'clock hour, if you're driving home, let me break it for you. Charles Grassley of Iowa, the senator, don't care much for Charles Grassley. He has recently co-authored the Hunter Biden report with Ron Johnson. But Grassley, third in line for the presidency, has tested positive for the COVID. Iowa Republican, Washington Post reporting at this hour. Iowa Republican Senator Charles Grassley, the president pro tem of the Senate, which makes him third in line of succession to the presidency, revealed today that he is tested positive for the coronavirus. His statement via tweet: I've tested positive for coronavirus. I'll be following my doctor's orders, guidelines, and continue to quarantine. I'm feeling good and will keep up the work for the people of Iowa from home. I appreciate everyone's well wishes and prayers and look forward to resuming my normal schedule soon. Now, Grassley, if you look at the actuarial tables, he's got some concerns. At least I'd be concerned. Grassley, 87 years old, announced earlier in the day that he'd be quarantining after finding out he'd been exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID. The senator was at the Capitol on Monday and spoke on the Senate floor, taking off his mask to do so, because of course he did. Grassley's illness follows news late last week that fellow octogenarian Rep. Don Young, Republican from Alaska, the Dean of the House and the longest consecutive serving member, was also diagnosed with the coronavirus. Seems shocking to me that Republicans would contract the coronavirus. They've been so careful up till now. And of course, here in the state of Wisconsin, we had some eye-popping, some record-breaking mortality rates, 92 COVID-19 deaths. If you hadn't heard the number overnight, the newest number, 92 Wisconsinites, 92 of our neighbors have died in the last 24 hours of COVID. And there are only about 800 Americans in total that have died in the last 24 hours of the COVID. So, I don't like doing math on the radio, but that is a tragically high number. The state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin reported 92 deaths from coronavirus Tuesday, its highest daily death toll ever, and a grim marker of the state's worsening health crisis. The State Department of Health Services on Tuesday reported over 7,000 new cases. The overall coronavirus death toll, 2,741. The 92 deaths reported Tuesday far outpaces the previous all-time high of 66 deaths in a day set a week ago. Here's a quote from the Deputy Secretary of the State Department of Health Services. Wisconsin is in a crisis. Cases are high and rising. Hospitalizations are high and rising. and COVID-19 deaths are high and rising. As cases surged in Wisconsin, intensive care units are filling up and deaths are climbing quickly. Hospitals across the state are at or near capacity and are facing widespread staffing shortages as hundreds of healthcare workers exposed or infected in the community are forced to quarantine at home. Let's see if there's any more here. Staying home, passing on a group of Thanksgiving. I think we have to shift our perspective. We have to look at this as an act of love. No one sits around that Thanksgiving table is expendable. Well, I don't know if you heard it earlier. Joe Parisi, I think he canceled Thanksgiving, at least here in Dane County. You're going to have to eat at home. Eat the turkey at home and like it, even if it's dry, because it's Thanksgiving. And you're not going to be able to share it with family except on the Zoom. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, the 5 o'clock Tuesday happy hour, the happier happy hour. It continues. We'll be right back.
Quit surfing the dial. You already found the greatest radio station ever, Devil Radio, on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
I'm Alan Robinson, host of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I am from this city, and I am in these streets, speaking truth to power Monday through Friday about your issues. Join me from 6 to 7 p.m. on Devil Radio.
First, the Devil's Advocates made radio great again. Now the Devil's Advocates are making radio greater again. The Devil's Advocates are expanding the greatest radio show ever from 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays. Dom and Fancy Brian will kick off the political party at 2. Crudy will help you celebrate the 5 o'clock happy hour. More snark, more politics, more callers, more Devil's Advocates. Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. only on Devil Radio and always streaming live at DARNWI.
National security. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President-elect Joe Biden has a national security briefing by experts vetted by his transition team since the Trump administration still refuses to cooperate with the transition. Biden telling the panel via video chat,
We've been through a lot of damage done the last 4 years, in my view, and we need to rebuild our institutions and our workforce to reflect the full strength and diversity of our country. And we're going to need to focus on readiness for whatever may come.
Another 2,700 uncounted ballots have been found on a memory card in Fayette County, Georgia. State election spokesman Gabriel Sterling says the additional votes added to President Trump's total.
The net pickup of 778 votes, it appears, on this one. So the new deficit will be 13,378.
The Associated Press has not declared a winner in Georgia, where Biden leads Trump by 0.3%. I'm Tim McGuire.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it time for open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For the typical family, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. Think what you could do with that. But if you join right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fee. So that's another $170 you'll save. And MediShare is really different. It's a community.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Cheryl Underwood. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Metamucil, and I have some news to share. Metamucil now has a delicious fiber gummy made by the #1 doctor-recommended fiber supplement brand. These gummies are a convenient way to get more fiber. That's because Metamucil fiber gummies are made with an exclusive blend of prebiotic plant-based fibers that give you 5 grams of fiber in each serving. I want you to promote your digestive health by trying new Metamucil gummies today.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Tuesday, November 17th. President Donald Trump's campaign would have to pay $7.9 million by Wednesday evening to move forward with the recount of the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin, the State Elections Commission said Monday. That estimated cost is about 4 times the actual cost of the 2016 presidential recount in Wisconsin. Megan Wolf, head of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, said the larger price tag is in part because of new COVID-19 pandemic procedures. In a prepared statement, Wolf said that includes a need for larger spaces to permit public observation and social distancing and security for those spaces. Forecast of sunny skies throughout the day today with a mostly cloudy evening, high of 40 degrees, low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday 5 o'clock happier hour. It continues. And we always appreciate your calls, your contributions. Welcome here. 844-967-2789. You're in the car. You're listening to me right now. Why don't you participate? Be a good sport. I've got some new news. This from the Journal Sentinel. Tony Evers put something out today. And Republicans, Robin Vos had a press conference today. And you'll get the point in just a minute. Molly Beck, Patrick Marley at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporting. Dateline Madison, Governor Tony Evers has a new $541 million plan aimed at providing relief for Wisconsin residents during the coronavirus pandemic. But top Republicans who control the state legislature signaled Tuesday they aren't on the same page and haven't drafted any of their own bills. So they are still crapping on Tony Evers' proposals without putting forth any plan of their own. They have no plan. The first glimmer of bipartisan state action on the pandemic in 7 months vanished almost as quickly as it appears. On a day, 92 people died of COVID-19, a new awful record for the state ravaged by the virus. The Democratic governor and Republican lawmakers appear to be heading towards a familiar place, at risk of no action being taken while COVID-19 cases soar, even as other states take new steps to prepare for a cold winter. Yeah, winter is coming. That will push more people indoors, raising the risk of infection. Evers released his legislative package earlier than planned after Assembly Speaker Robin Vos of Rochester called a news conference Tuesday afternoon. And here's a quote about new legislative initiatives on COVID-19 instead of responding to a request from Evers on Monday to work together on finalizing a bill to present publicly next week. Now, Vos did not release specific proposals, almost like they don't have a plan. Vos did not release specific proposals at the news conference, but told reporters he wants to work with Evers on a bill that would double the number of contact tracers in the state, provide lawsuit protection for businesses. Let me repeat that part. Provide lawsuit protection for businesses and expand rapid testing throughout the state. So he wants to give cover to businesses that are acting in an unsafe manner for their employees or possibly even their customers. Because of course they do. Because that's what Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce wants. But after the news conference, a top Republican in the state Senate said he didn't see any need for the legislature to act at all. Talking about D-bag Chris Kapinga of Delafield. At this point, I haven't seen anything that I'm real excited about, the incoming Senate president said in an interview with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Again, Chris Kapinga, I reference. He said he didn't support Vos's call for increasing contact tracing and didn't like some of the main provisions of Evers' proposed legislation, such as banning evictions and foreclosures. Prefer to see evictions and foreclosures in the midst of a pandemic and the resulting depression, the Trump depression we're now experiencing. Back to Kapinga, and continuing to suspend the waiting period to receive unemployment benefits. I'm not real keen on that stuff, Kapinga said, because he's a D-bag. If adopted, Evers' plan would suspend for another year standardized testing to measure the performance of schools and allow those thrown out of work to immediately claim unemployment benefits. Suspending for another year a requirement that normally forces people to wait for a week before receiving benefits. It also would continue to suspend a requirement that the unemployed search for work to receive benefits. Think of all the malfeasance Scotty Wanker threw at us, right? The welfare reform got all those queens back to work, and then the pandemic hit. Back to the article. Lawmakers made temporary changes to the unemployment system in the spring because of the pandemic, but they're slated to end in January. Evers wants to keep the changes in place until the end of 2021. Well, I could see why all the Republicans, including Chris Kapinga, would oppose that. Evers' legislation would require health insurers to cover services provided remotely and require them to cover COVID-19 testing, treatment, prescriptions, and vaccines. Seems like that's why we get health insurance. Insurers would be blocked from requiring their recipients to pay a share of the cost or get authorization before obtaining those services. In addition, Evers wants healthcare workers and other critical workers to automatically receive workers' compensation benefits if they contract COVID-19. Now, let's not forget, the Republicans, the only legislative relief package passed in the state of Wisconsin, that was like 7 months ago. But while they were on the floor of the assembly negotiating the terms, WMC decided they wanted first responders, cops, EMTs, paramedics. If they could not prove how they got COVID-19, they wanted them exempted from workers' compensation claims. If there wasn't a direct line in a communicable disease that they could prove who they got it from and it happened on the workplace, they were denied workmen's compensation by these very same Republicans doing the will of Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. Don't want you to forget about any of those details. The governor's proposal would also allow pharmacists to extend more prescription refills by 30 days through the end of 2021, according to an analysis of the measure provided by the governor's office. Evers' legislation would cost $541 million, with much of that going towards testing. The total includes $75 million in tax break for businesses hurt by the pandemic. And Voss called the legislation too costly and said he hoped more expenses could be covered with the federal funds. Evers has control of about $2 billion in federal aid he can use to fight COVID-19, but he must spend it by the end of the year. Voss said he hopes Congress will provide states with additional resources soon. Well, it seems like you've advocated for just the opposite, Robin, but let me read on. Voss said he's disappointed Evers' legislation does not address the tens of thousands of people in Wisconsin who've been waiting months to receive a response to their unemployment claims. Well, that might actually be a valid criticism. More than 70,000 Wisconsinites have been waiting for weeks or months for benefits or a rejection of their claim. Some have been waiting since the pandemic forced layoffs in March. Voss said he has concerns about continuing to eliminate the 1 week waiting period before the jobless may collect their benefits. What, they're making it up, Robin? Need to suffer for a week before they get any benefits, or it's not a Christian-like... I read on. Voss didn't offer concrete legislation. In other words, he has no plan to deal with COVID-19, but provided an array of ideas, mostly bad. Doubling the number of contact tracers in the state, that one's not terrible. Making rapid tests more widely available and bringing at-home testing to Wisconsin. He did not say how much he was willing to spend, only that Tony Evers' proposal, way too grandiose. How dare Evers try to help people in the middle of a pandemic by putting the state's resources to contact tracing? He, meaning Voss, proposed having those receiving unemployment benefits conduct contact tracing, with the recipients receiving pay for that work on the top of their benefits. He offered a similar idea for university students, saying they could be paid for the work and receive college credit. Why not prison labor, Robin? Voss cast out on approving some of Evers' proposals, such as the one to ban the initiation of evictions until the end of 2021. Well, Robin's a big landlord. If you don't pay, you got to go, right, Robin? Here is a statement. I think it's very unlikely that we're going to say they don't have to pay your rent until sometime after 2021, said Voss, who is a landlord himself. That's probably not something where we're going to say it's okay to not pay your rent. That wouldn't be good for our economy. You mean your economy, right, Robin? You took the PPP money, right, Robin? Was that good for your economy? A little bit more. Evers sent his proposal to Voss and incoming Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu on Monday evening and did not receive a response, according to the governor's office. On Monday, Evers' legislative liaison asked Voss and LeMahieu to discuss and finalize the ultimate COVID-19 relief package with the governor on Friday. On Friday, we would like to know what the two leaders are or are not supportive of and any other ideas you would like to see included in the legislation. Liaison Zach Madden wrote in an email to the leaders. Voss said Tuesday the public doesn't care about when he is or isn't meeting with the governor, but rather the ability of the two sides to strike a deal. Of course, Voss has no intent of striking any deal. Rather, let Wisconsinites continue to die. You haven't done anything, jack squat, in 7 months, Robin. Don't pretend like you care now. More from the article. Wisconsinites want us to say don't focus on who's fighting with who. Don't focus on who's going to meet, what time, when, where. Nobody cares, he said. What they want is they want us to find answers. We can actually move the ball forward and be able to find things that can help people dealing with the coronavirus. That would require a plan, Robin Voss, and you have no plan, reportedly. As of last week, Evers and Voss hadn't spoken in 6 months and hadn't worked together on a plan to navigate the pandemic in 7 months. Republican lawmakers and conservatives have sued Evers over every major measure he's put forward to address the pandemic, including popular indoor face mask mandates. Kapenga, back to the D-bag, said he was worried Evers' mask requirement and other COVID-19 related policies were hurting the state's economy. You got people, I think, who are very scared right now, and that's part of the problem out there. There's a lot of fear, Kapenga said. Well, people fear we're never going to move beyond a pandemic because jagoffs like you, Kapenga, continue to work against state government, public health authorities, and the good of the people of the great state of Wisconsin. A little bit more from the quote. I don't think it's a good idea for Evers to be what I consider fear-mongering. I think it's okay to have a healthy respect for what's going on with COVID, and I think people can make their own decisions on that. Now, I did point out that Waukesha County, the very place that the D-bag Chris Kapenga represents, has almost tripled the COVID death rate of Dane County, a larger, more populous county. Waukesha County, 20,617 COVID positives, 167 people dead. They're not making responsible choices, Senator Kapenga. Just saying. 844-967-2789. Now, I don't know how these Republicans continue to show up with no plan and continue to, blame Tony Evers. Well, he's spending too much money. He might try to solve a problem with all that money. Well, why don't you try solving a problem, Robin Voss? A little bit more of this from our friends at wispolitics.com. Voss, who insisted he wouldn't negotiate details of COVID-19 bill through the media, laid out a string of Assembly GOP priorities. So in other words, he ran to the media to tell the media he would not negotiate through the media. You know, a plan to make a plan. The speaker, who owns rental property, said he didn't support the governor's call to end evictions and questioned if the suspension of a 1-week waiting period before those who lose their jobs can collect unemployment was still needed. You know, he didn't lose his job. He got reelected. He's still the Assembly Speaker and the owner of a popcorn conglomerate, apparently, propped up by the taxpayers' PPP money. He got his. Did you get yours? The Assembly GOP priorities include doubling the number of contact tracers, improving access to rapid testing, extending the National Guard deployment to help with the testing, and implementing a new program like a pilot in Minnesota that allows people to take tests at home. Then put forth your legislation, Robin. You know, click those ruby slippers together. It was in your power the whole time. For the last 7 months, you could have pushed any of these proposals. Hell, you could have showed up at your own press conference today with a plan instead of some good ideas. You know, I got ideas. I'm going to write them down at some point. Don't expect me to turn in my homework. It's only been 7 months since we convened in the Assembly. Voss also said he was disappointed Evers' bill didn't address the state's troubled unemployment insurance system. I mentioned that. There is a backlog with 72,160 unique claimants Meanwhile, they continue to be a series of stories in the media about those who filed claims this spring and are still awaiting payment. Well, of course, that's something you can criticize Tony Evers about. And never have to do your own individual homework, Robin Voss. You know, make a plan for a plan and then tell the media about it. But, you know, don't litigate it through the media. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your phone calls welcome. 844-967-2789.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say? Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Jimmy, it's the day after the election and the president wants to cancel Max Inc. Radio for Christmas music.
He can't do that, Rocker. We have the devil on our side.
All new Max Inc. Radio, Saturdays 6 to midnight. New features like live music, local artists and interviews with plenty of throwbacks. Chat with Jimmy K and Rocker using the Max Inc. Radio chat room. Or call the studio live and make a request. It's all new Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
You can't kill local music, Rocker. Call him back and tell him he's fired.
It's getting cold out there, Wisconsin. Time to bust out your favorite flannel attire and join us on Saturday, November 21st for Flannel Fest, an online concert event raising money for the Keep Wisconsin Warm/Cool Fund, because no Wisconsinite should be without heat during the cold winter months. Flannel Fest features performances from 18 artists across the country, including Blitzen Trapper, Beth Killy Band, The Mascot Theory, and many more. Visit flannelfest.com for more details. Sponsored by Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com. Like, wow, Scoob, it's Devil Radio. Rebel Radio?
The Devil's Advocates, they refuse to do math on the radio.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the 5 o'clock happy hour. It continues all the way until Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, a new product rolled out here on Devil Radio 92.7 just last night. And if you missed the inaugural debut, you're going to want to stick around. Alan Robinson hosts Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. That's coming up next. And tomorrow morning, don't forget, set the alarm, get up early. Matt Flynn direct, 6 to 8 a.m. You're going to want to hear Matt. Chi-Coms better recognize. We've got a little bit of sound of Joe Biden. You could still be a part of this show. There's still time. Dial us up, 844-967-2789. But Jimmy K, I want to get to President-elect Joe Biden. I got to remember to call him that. President-elect Joe Biden talking about the very topic of coronavirus, the vaccines, and cooperation with the GOP. Is that possible on a federal level? It's obviously not going to happen on a state level. Robin Voss also attributed as saying today, Tony Evers' proposition, more of the same. Well, I could say the same about you, Robin Voss. Let's jump into the President-elect Joe Biden sound. If you would, Jimmy K, play cut 21.
The refusal of Democrats and Republicans to cooperate with one another is not due to some mysterious force beyond our control. It's a conscious decision. It's a choice that we make. If we can decide not to cooperate, then we can decide to cooperate.
What about the coronavirus vaccine, the warp speed plan? Well, you got to share. Cut 22, more Joe Biden.
They say they have this warp speed program that not only dealt with getting vaccines, but also how to distribute this. If we have to wait until January 20th to start that planning, it puts us behind over a month and a half.
Now, according to the Madison.com at this hour, Wisconsin is preparing to receive and distribute COVID-19 vaccine for up to 700,000 healthcare workers and high-risk residents, potentially beginning as early as the end of the year, state health officials said Tuesday. Well, that might take some cooperation of the Trump administration on their way out the door. That was the concern expressed by Joe Biden. A little bit more from the Madison.com. The timing and number of first doses are tentative, pending applications and production schedules from manufacturers, two of which said this month their vaccine candidates were at least 90% effective based on preliminary data. The anticipated protection comes as the state reported, and again, this tragic number, a record 92 COVID-19 deaths Tuesday, and had a record 2,277 patients hospitalized with the coronavirus. A little bit more of the math so I don't have to do it. The state, Wisconsin, which has about 5.8 million people, stands to get 1.77% of whatever amount of vaccine is initially available. The federal, let me see here, Pfizer and Moderna, which said they could seek federal approval for their candidates this month, meaning their vaccine candidates, each anticipate having enough doses ready for about 20 million people by the end of the year. The combined supply of 40 million would mean enough vaccine for roughly 700,000 people in Wisconsin with healthcare workers, other essential workers, should include radio guys in that, and people 65 or older, with underlying medical conditions getting first dibs. First dibs. Get your vaccine, you essential workers. More of the president-elect Joe Biden talking about Kamala Harris, cut number 23.
It would make it a lot easier if the president were to participate. You have a number of Republicans suggesting that. The good news here is my colleague is still in the Intelligence Committee, so she gets the intelligence briefings.
That's Harris. She got a fist bump from Lindsey Graham on the Senate floor today as well. Seemed congratulatory. A little bit more. Joe Biden, the president-elect, talking about coronavirus, cut 24.
Everyone on our call today and our Zoom today agreed that the sooner we have access to the administration's distribution plan, the sooner this transition would be smoothly moved forward.
Joe, Republicans have no plans. You know that by now. President-elect Joe Biden, more of the same, if you will. Cut number 25. The only reason people mistrust vaccines, well, of course, because of Trump.
Look, the only reason people question the vaccine now is because of Donald Trump. That's the reason why people are questioning the vaccine, because all the things he says and doesn't say, whether is it truthful, is it not truthful, the exaggerations.
Jimmy K going to jump ahead just a little. Cut number 27. Nothing macho about not wearing a mask. Cut 27.
There's nothing macho about not wearing a mask.
What about Thanksgiving? Cut number 28. President-elect Joe Biden.
I just want to make sure that we're able to be together next Thanksgiving, next Christmas. I mean, it is an international crisis.
You'd like to live to see next Thanksgiving, wouldn't we? Joe Biden talking about Trump's lack of concession. Well, it's downright embarrassing. Cut 29.
I find this more embarrassing for the country than debilitating for my ability to get started.
One more. President-elect Joe Biden, Trump and his tweets. Cut 30.
I interpret that as Trumpianism. No change in his modus operandi.
Trumpyism, something of that effect. You know, I slur a word or two, Joe. Don't worry about it. So Joe Biden, seeking some sort of conciliatory tone from the former president. Well, I guess Donald Trump's still the president, but he's not going to concede anything. And he's not releasing any of his transition plans. And he's not really giving Joe Biden any clear indication of how they're planning to distribute these warp speed vaccines. Now, I said on this fine show about a week ago, I think Donald Trump, he deserves some modicum of credit. The warp speed, he wasn't lying to us. The vaccines have come out very rapidly. This is a record pace they are on to produce a vaccine in this very communicable disease. But ultimately, he so undermined his own credibility. A lot of people, a lot of Americans will not take that vaccine, not if Donald Trump is the distributor of that vaccine. My greatest concern, the transition is going to take far too long. And Trump doesn't trust Biden. And the American people, of course, don't trust Trump. So anything that happens between now and January 20th is really subject to a healthy dose of skepticism from one side or the other. And these Republicans, they're going to make a plan. They're going to plan for a plan. They're going to go talk to the media about their plan for a plan. Robin Voss, what a effective news conference you had today. A plan for a plan. I look forward to it, sir. Lots of bright ideas you got, Robin. How about cooperating with the governor of the state of Wisconsin? How about that? Is that a bright idea? Consider it. Just think it over. Thank you to our fine guests today. They included Ian Gervitz, author of Death to America, How We the People Screwed Ourselves, and Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. He's announced his re-election campaign. He also, sadly, canceled Thanksgiving. Don't blame Joe, blame coronavirus. Stick around. Alan Robinson, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood is next. The second edition ever. You're going to want to listen.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DAR.